Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your TWitWoW monthly Q&A number 61. It is officially the 5-year anniversary of our first ever Q&A. It is July of 2021, and in today's episode, we're going to be answering all the questions that you all have asked since our July of 2021 Q&A. We've got a grand total of 42. We would have had 45, but unfortunately, Slick, I don't know how to pronounce it, asked questions and then deleted them. So I can see that he asked questions in my notifications, but when I click on it, nothing comes up. So unfortunately, we still only have 42, but 42 is a good, solid number. I'm excited to get into Q&A today. John, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty great. So let's get into this.
All right, let's get on into it. First question from Hypothesis is, do you think the Great Khali would have been more over in a similar role to 911 from ECW?
Not familiar with 911. I will say this, though, Hypothesis, just so I don't give a curt answer to your first question. I always feel like people that have the presence of a Khali are always going to get their value maximized when they're treated like maybe even once every 3 months, like once a quarter kind of thing. At most, and if you could scale it back even further, that's even better. Yeah. Less is more with attractions like Khali, so I just wanted to add that little bit. What about you, Ashton?
I genuinely don't even know who 911 is, but apparently he was 6'8" and 300 pounds, so I'm guessing most likely, knowing that Paul Heyman was the one that booked him, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Right. All right, next question.
Have you ever noticed that the first ever champions in Lucha Underground were also the first ever two-time champions?
No, but that's very interesting.
Yeah,
very cool.
The first ever world champ was Prince Puma. He was also the first guy to win it a second time. And then the first ever Gift of the Gods champion, I believe, was Phoenix, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And he was the first one ever to win it a second time as well. He won it off of Cuerno.
Very cool. Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Trios, too. Because didn't Ivelisse, Angelico, and Son of Havoc win the trios titles back from the Disciples of Death after having lost them?
I believe they did.
Yeah.
I thought they did.
All three of those titles were initially won by the same team or same person that would go on to win them for the first ever time for a second time. Yeah, that's really cool. Good observation, Hypothesis.
All right, next question.
If the U.S. ends up at war with China in the near future, whose side do you think WWE would choose?
Oh, God. They would, you know what, though? That's a false question because they would try and play both sides. I think outwardly they'd support the U.S. in terms of, like, the content and stuff produced, but the back doors and deals and stuff, they would all be with China. Absolutely. Like, so, yeah, I think they'd have it both ways, but I think outwardly they'd support the U.S.
You know what? I think in this one instance, I think they would literally just cut all ties to China and exclusively be behind the U.S. because of Vince and how fucking, like, ethnocentric and, like, ethno-nationalist and super patriotic he is.
Yeah, you may be right, but I just feel like, in a weird way, money is the supreme ideology.
Right, but I don't feel like they really have a good grasp on the Chinese market at all, so it's not like they're really even benefiting from that relationship at all yet.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest positive, if you want to call it that, gain that they've had that has anything to do with China is Xia Li. And, like, she's literally going around injuring people, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. I know they have high hopes, but I feel like their hand isn't deep enough in the China cookie jar yet for them to be willing to compromise their unbridled patriotism for that relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's understandable. All right, next question.
Next set of questions are from Super Blue, and as you know, John, these are always a fucking adventure. First question from Super Blue: when LA Knight becomes NXT champion, would it really be worse than Cross and Bobby Roode's reigns?
No to Cross, yes to Roode.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing about Bobby Roode.
I'm firmly in the not necessarily camp.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, Cross, absolutely. I hate fucking Cross as champion. You know, it's whatever. Roode, though, look, I know a lot of people give a lot of flack to Rude. I certainly have in his later years, but I think the guy can be a decent heel when it calls for it in that role. I would take a title reign of his now over Cross's. So I think LA Knight would be better than Cross, but like LA Knight, unlike Rude, just comes off to me like a real tryhard, or at least Rude has some genuine heel heat going for him that he doesn't have to like blatantly rip off another act to get. So, yeah.
See, and I think I would, God, I always have hated the Bobby Roode run way more than you because I fucking hated that, like, he was cutting quote unquote heel promos because he was arrogant and talking how much better he was than everyone else and how he wanted to replace the crowd and shit. But at the same time, as soon as his music hits, he gets cheered. And even in some matches, he was getting cheered over fucking Nakamura. Like, I despised his run. So that's why I'm firmly in the not necessarily camp on both of these guys.
I mean, to be fair, though, is that really Rude's fault? Because, like, the theme was given to him, and I feel like those crowds in NXT are always smarky or like, they feel like they're better than other fans. So, like, oh, look how cutting edge we are. We're rooting for the heel over the really popular Japanese wrestler that everybody would cheer for. I don't know. I feel like Rude just got a string of bad decisions that he didn't really have control over.
To be fair, I'm not really saying that I hated Rude's reign because I think Rude sucked during it. I mean, I'm saying, like, the overall presentation of it is the problem for me.
Right, that's understandable.
And granted, I will say, his matches during his reign were boring as fuck, so...
All right, well, next question from Super Blue.
Second question from Super Blue. Why are there no reports of Triple H, Stephanie, Shane, or anybody trying to stop Vince from making all these insane decisions, including releasing people left and right?
One, they probably wouldn't have the authority to stop him as of yet. And two, you never know if they just co-sign onto those decisions to begin with.
That was going to be my explanation, was the reason you don't hear about it is because it's not fucking happening. They're not protesting. They don't care. They don't have a problem with it for the most part. Maybe, maybe Joe specifically. Maybe they were like, Vince, what the hell are you doing? And he was like, don't worry, we're bringing him back. And then they're like, oh, okay, we're good then. Like, that's the extent of it, really. I can't imagine that there's been much fuss put up.
Yeah, if you're hearing silence, complicity is to follow suit. So, there you go. Next question.
Third question from Super Blue. How do you feel about Sasha Banks liking anti-vax posts on Instagram? Will it put her on the shit list with Cross?
If by shit list you mean a world champion that gets, big takeover matches, and hell, they were even talking about what they want to do with him on the main roster if the rumors are true. He'll get back on the right track on the main roster. He's getting pushed. I mean, just to put it succinctly, he's getting pushed. So if that's the shit list,
dude, he asked this question long before Cross lost to Jeff Hardy. So I assume this is more referring to whether we will stop liking her specifically.
Oh, I'm torn about that because I'm really disappointed in Sasha. If I'm honest, I think it'd be hypocritical if we said anything other than we're disappointed because we have railed against anti-vaxxers in the past. I don't care how good she is. In fact, I think if anything, her being as good as she is almost makes it worse because people look up to her and stuff, and I think they're going to be influenced by her because of how good she is. And then when they see that, it's like...
If she was just an independent actor and she was just, kind of skeptical, I would understand that. The problem is she's got a fucking huge platform and a lot of influence.
Exactly. And that, really rubs me the wrong way, and I've got to be honest about that. It's been hard because I have lapses sometimes where I get really excited about something Sasha's doing, and I'm like, oh, wait, you're an anti-vaxxer. Ugh. And, it's very discomforting to me. I don't want to say outwardly, I hate Sasha or whatever, because I don't. I'd probably still enjoy the matches, I'm not going to lie. Like, the same way I still enjoy AJ Styles matches. It's just I think I'm so beaten down. I'm really just asking, look, if you want to believe shitty things, I mean, I'd rather you didn't, but okay, everybody has freedom of thought and freedom of expression. Just be mindful of your platform and make sure everybody else keeps their freedom of expression because you might be subconsciously influencing their thought because of how much they look up to you. And just be mindful of that fact. I do think there's an ethical component to all of this that doesn't really get talked about enough.
It seems so like I don't think she's diving deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, too, because Mark even just said she's following more and more of them.
And that's really sad. That's really sad. I don't think I'll ever hate her. She really is so great in the ring, and I think what she's done for the business, and especially women's wrestling, and the perception of it in WWE, she's just left an indelible mark on the business at such a young age, but... Just, again, we have to separate the art from the artist because it turns out the artist, while I'm sure she's a sweetheart in many areas, I think what worries me, if I'm honest and not to project, I see sometimes that when you go down this rabbit hole, It's not long before you start going down others. And I do wonder if this is kind of the beginning of kind of a right-wing radicalization of Sasha Banks, or like a conspiratorial radicalization of Sasha Banks. I hope that's not the case. But, it's disappointing, but I'm not angry about it. I'm just
I was
just
even going to say, I kind of feel like my relationship with Sasha has been, like, pretty, like, I love her in-ring work, but I try and avoid following her outside the ring, and I try and avoid, like, reading stories and finding things out about what she does outside of the ring, because I feel like there's always been kind of a disconnect there for me, where I feel like it's like, we hear about, like, all the vacations and stuff, and that's cool, but, like, then there's also, like, I feel like for a long time now, what's the name? That's what it was. For a long time now, we've known that she's a big supporter of Autism Speaks, which is, like, usually problematic quote unquote charity. And, like, just little things like that. It's been, like, little hints that have been getting dropped throughout the years that make me think that I just would not like Sasha as a person, would not like, I guess I should say, Mercedes as a person, wouldn't want to hang out with her. I've even said that in a Q&A before. I wouldn't want to hang out with her. Like, I wouldn't want to, like, have a drink with her at a bar or something like that. Like, I wouldn't want to just hang out with her. She doesn't seem like the type of person that I would want to chill with. Bailey, maybe. Sasha, no. But, like, I feel like this is, like, basically my relationship with her is just becoming similar to my relationship with, like, AJ Styles. Like, I don't need to like the person in order for me to appreciate exceptional in-ring work. And amazing, like, not even just in-ring, exceptional wrestling performance overall. Like, they're both amazing in the ring, amazing on the mic, amazing character workers, like, everything. Like, they're very similar in that way. Obviously, AJ is, at least that we know of, much further right than Sasha is now, but it looks like Sasha might be headed down that pipe. So, unfortunately, we don't know how much longer we're going to be able to say that.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that substantively answers that question. Next question.
Fourth question from Super Blue. How do we go from recording TV for free with VHS and DVD-R to paying for it? You can still technically do it for free. It's just not as convenient.
I mean, something capitalism, I feel like. I don't know.
I think here's my problem with this. You tell me, John, what's more convenient? Having to specifically buy a machine that allows you to record VHS from your TV, having to buy blank tapes, having to put those in the machine and hit the record button on time so that you record what you want, and remembering to hit the stop button so that you don't fill the entire tape up, or going on a website and pulling something up, maybe watching an ad or two, and then just watching it for free because it's a fucking pirated website. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
You're pirating either way. Technically, recording TV with a VHS tape is just as illegal as watching movies online for free on these, like, Go Watch Series type sites.
Yeah.
You're pirating either way. But I'm pretty fucking sure that the website, where you just have to click a few things and maybe deal with an ad, and that's if you don't have an ad blocker, which you probably should anyway, I think that's a hell of a lot easier than the VHS shit.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
Yeah, so I'm just going to straight up disagree with you on this, Super Blue. I think you might just be not resourceful enough, because it has never been more convenient than it is now to watch TV shows and movies for free online. Fifth question, and that's the crazy thing too, is I say online, but if you get a $35 Chromecast, which is less than you would have paid for a VHS recording machine thing back in the day when you had to buy those, you can put the thing on your computer and cast it to your TV, so it's like you're watching it on the TV then. So it's even better then. Anyway, fifth and final question from Super Blue. Why do you... this is for you, John, specifically, actually. I wanted to say that. John, this is all you. Why do you always defend Adam Cole when he is clearly in the wrong and tells nothing but lies?
The same reason that you have ridiculous, fantastical dreams about Kushida and other people. We all have people that we gravitate towards, except the only difference between you and I, Super Blue, is that I'm right. Next question.
He did add, everything Joe and Kyle did to Adam was well-deserved.
Yeah, and when Kushida lost, and when Kushida loses his Cruiserweight Championship, I'm going to remember that he deserved that too. Go Diamond Mine, go Malcolm Bivens.
Next set of questions are from Sean. We did only get 4 from him this month, I believe. I don't think I missed one. First question is for you, John. It was a bit of a longer question. The general vibe is, how has your cerebral palsy affected you? He did say he also has cerebral palsy and that it limits both of his right side limbs, and that, you know, he knows that everybody's situation is kind of different. There's some people that can move on their own and be just as effective as others, like you two, but others that can't, etc., etc. So he wants to know how your cerebral palsy has affected you.
I actually did see this question. First of all, Sean, I really appreciate your vulnerability about that and sharing that. It's always nice to see other people in the community. For me, it's really, I don't want to say it's complicated. It's a bit long-winded, so I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as possible. I was born prematurely, and in the course of my premature birth, I suffered an intracranial hemorrhage. So I had bleeding on one of the sides of my brain. Now, apparently, and I learned this because I've now been reconnected with my mother for 3 years, and she actually told me details about my birth that I did not know before, because according to her, the bleeding at first was really severe. In fact, the doctor straight up told my mom to leave me at the hospital, because they just felt like I was marked for death, and they even told her, like, if he survives, he's going to be blind, deaf. They use the R word, so great ableism there. And, stuff like that. Just, no, in their minds, no quality of life whatsoever. My brain did reabsorb all the blood, but I am left with there's a specific term for it, and I'm not going to wrestle for it for like 15 minutes, but I have like a spastic cerebral palsy. It affects my hands, pretty much my entire body, more or less. My motor skills have greatly improved. As a kid, I was able to walk, but my gait was terrible. I was all hunched over, this and that. And only because of medical intervention. I really was in the very capable hands of one of the best surgeons, I would even say, in the country. He would later go on to treat a friend of mine with scoliosis, totally changed her life, and he changed my life. I was like 12, 13. And it's funny that this is a wrestling podcast because, oh my God, you're so beautiful, Foster. You make me want to be better too, but I can't cry right now. It's funny that this is a wrestling channel because I remember when I was laid up in the hospital after surgery, I cried my eyes out because the TV in the room only had 13 channels, so I couldn't watch Raw or SmackDown. So then they lent me like a hospital laptop, and I remember going on WWE.com, just getting all the updates. I was in the hospital while the Hogan-Michaels feud was happening on Raw, and Batista had been drafted to SmackDown, and I thought we were going to get a new world champion, and I was so excited for Chris to win, and of course he didn't. That was when Muhammad Hassan was in the company. And yeah, the surgery totally like turned things around, because before I couldn't even stand for like more than a second before like falling down, and I actually have balance now. Now again, there are still limitations in my motor skills. Like I know people always push me to drive and like, oh, you get a customizable car. I feel like my response time and everything with a car wouldn't be fast enough. Plus, with my mental illness, with anxiety and everything, that's just off the table. Lifting really heavy objects. I do all my cooking by a rice cooker. Like, I don't work a stove or anything like that because I like this house and I don't want to burn it down. Mentally, if I'm being candid mentally, and I'm always careful about this because I always want to be respectful to the community, I would not be surprised if I was slightly autistic or I had like ADHD, and I don't know if that's from the brain bleed or what. That's always been the vexing puzzle to me, Sean, since you asked me about this, is I always wonder, like, how my identity in and of itself, because, if we believe that identity is in the brain, and, that's a separate discussion, I've always wondered how I would be different if I didn't have a brain bleed at all, despite the fact that, again, my brain did reabsorb, I think, all of the blood. Because I know it, again, affects my motor skills. In fact, they even attributed it to why I struggled in math, particularly geometry 1 year in high school, because it's like, oh, you got affected. Like your spatial relationships have been affected. So, and then that's really, I'm not straying from the question, right? Because he did ask me how my CP affects me. So I want to make sure I'm staying inside the scope here. Okay. Because I don't want to dawdle on. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, like I think about it both in the physical sense, Sean, of how it's affected me. Even though, again, I would say my quality of life is higher than it's ever been. Just because, again, I can ambulate well. I go hiking on my crutches. I once hiked like 13 and a half miles to and from home.
I still remember that day. It was a Sunday. And not only was it a Sunday, it was a fucking pay-per-view Sunday.
Yeah. And I made it just in time, though, for the live reactions. I didn't miss the show.
Yep.
Consummate pro right here. And I remember telling Ashton that I got so tired on the walk back, I just laid on the dirt, grass, and everything. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to die. Like, that's how it goes. And I almost made my peace with it. And then I get up because I'm like, wait a minute. Because I had written Dracula in philosophy. I'm like, I haven't gotten my copies of my book. I can't die until that happens. So I picked my ass up and I got back to moving. So yeah, like, physically, I'd say I do well. I just make sure to work out every day. Although I should do more strength training, honestly. I do way too much cardio and just plain walking. I need to get back to squats. I need to get back to push-ups because I want to build my muscle up again. I do have bunions. One got surgically corrected, but aesthetically it looks like it never was because my toes are still crossing over. My feet are terrible. My feet are like my least favorite feature. And the left one hasn't been treated, but thankfully hasn't given me any pain. I worry about the future because I think the other toes will cross over in time, and I don't want the toes to just all, like, you know, curl up and completely impair my mobility. I've really grown to cherish my movement, and I don't want to regress. In fact, the whole reason we had the surgery, like, all those years ago to begin with, was because they said if I didn't have it, in a year's time, I would be totally bound to a wheelchair. So, like, and nothing against permanent wheelchair users, and nothing against, again, autistic people and stuff. Like, ableism goes deep, y'all. Like, I really should talk about it more when these questions come up, because the way disabled people get treated is beyond fucking gross. But, you know, like, I had gotten used to ambulating on crutches and this and that. I used to wear mothos, too, like braces on my legs. I don't do those anymore. And I used to wear, when I would go to sleep, and I hated it, these leg separators. There was a name for them. There was a name for them, but I can't remember. Because I guess they didn't want my legs all, like, tied up and my knees knocking. But I got to tell you, it's so much better sleeping when your legs can freely move. So I haven't done that in years. So I have come a long way again physically. What vexes me more today, as I get closer, you know, to my 30s and everything, is the mental. Like, you know, how has the brain bleed affected me mentally? What is the health of my brain neurologically? You know, has it given me any mental disorders beyond just my trauma and my PTSD from my upbringing and my formative years? You know, is it attributable to maybe some of my tics and mannerisms, or is it, you know, affecting this or that? I've always been curious about the more neurological end of it, which I feel like is a big mystery to me. But the physical, I've more or less made my peace with. If you ever want to talk about it, Sean, I mean, I think you follow me on Twitter. My DMs are open, and you're a part of the Discord. So feel free to shoot me a personal message if you want to talk about it more. But I'm always grateful when somebody can be vulnerable and ask questions like that. And I try and keep these responses succinct because we have a lot of questions. But I felt like because you were vulnerable, you deserve the most substantive response. And yeah, I think I'll just put a pin in it there.
All right, awesome. Yeah, the only thing that I really wanted to add, as far as sleeping when your legs can move freely, I feel like the biggest improvement that I've had from my sleeping experience is keeping a pillow between my knees when I sleep on my side.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I actually have a memory foam pillow. That makes it even better. It is wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our second question from Sean. 2017 Roman Reigns versus 2020 Roman Reigns. Who wins and why?
Oh, 2020, without a doubt.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we're talking about, like, from a performance, like, entertainment standpoint, obviously. I think he's more saying, like, they're booking the 2017 Roman Reigns versus 2020 Roman Reigns in some alternate universe. Who wins the match?
I still think 2020 Roman Reigns, because I think he's just as capable when he needs to be as 2017, but he has the backup that 2017 wouldn't tolerate. So, yeah. I still say 2020 Roman.
God, it's so weird because 2017 Roman Reigns was booked way stronger than 2020 Roman Reigns, but he was also much less likely to win the biggest matches versus 2020 Roman Reigns. It's like,
right.
Such a weird, like, flip of the switch, because 2017 Roman Reigns was booked like the fucking immortal. Like, he was booked like a god. He was booked like he couldn't be touched. But you put him in the biggest match of his career, and he's much more likely to lose than win. Whereas 2020 Roman Reigns, I mean, he comes off like a god just from a performance presentation standpoint. But he's booked much weaker. He is constantly struggling in his matches. He only ever wins most of the time because he has help or because he cheats. And yet he still always wins the big matches. It's like we've basically gone from John Cena, not even John Cena, because Cena always fucking won. It's like, how do I even put that? Like, who was anything like 2017 Roman Reigns? It was like we went from this, like, super hyped up monster baby face that just couldn't win the big one, to now it's basically Ric Flair, Roman Reigns. Like he's completely vulnerable except for in the biggest matches where he always wins, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Third question. Each of you name 3 men in the 3, and these are unique men. Like we have to have different answers. We can't share answers here. In the pre-Money in the Bank era that you would have liked to see win a Money in the Bank match. So we're going for 6 total men to basically make a totally unique Money in the Bank field that would have been impossible because they weren't really wrestling anymore when Money in the Bank started.
Pre-Money in the Bank field.
You name 3, I name 3. You want me to get us started?
Sure.
Mr. Perfect.
I was gonna say Mr. Perfect, but I'll say Jake the Snake.
Beautiful.
Jake Roberts.
I'm gonna add, I think, the easiest remaining answer. After this, it's gonna be a little bit more of a struggle for me. Randy Savage.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a bit more unique answer. This is just purely from the character, and I felt the potential I could have had with the briefcase. Sean O'Hare.
Oh God. Why?
Again, I liked his gimmick on SmackDown and where it could have gone. I feel like with the briefcase, again, and that's why I said purely from a character standpoint.
Yeah, so. It's just unfortunate because I have like 3 names in mind now, and I know at least one of them definitely won't make the cut. Okay, so I'm gonna go Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Ooh, I like that. My third pick. This is a harder one for me. Because I can't say, Benoit was in the first one. Eddie competed against Ray in the opener on the WrestleMania that the first Money in the Bank happened.
Right.
God, this is really difficult. Did you already say Randy Savage? I feel like you did, right?
Yeah, he was my second pick. My picks.
I thought.
My picks so far have been Mr. Perfect, Randy Savage, and the most recent one was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
You know what? Thank you, Mets. But instead of Brett, I'll go with the heart I've always preferred, Owen Hart. Owen Hart. That'll be my third pick.
That's a really good answer, yeah. So the names that I had in mind that got left off were Scott Hall and Roddy Piper.
Interesting.
Scott Hall was literally in the first ever ladder match on WWE.
Yeah, that's true.
I think HBK was still around when Money in the Bank was a thing, so I didn't want to include him.
Right.
But actually, I know for a fact that he was, because he probably was even in a Money in the Bank ladder match or 2. Because he was still wrestling into like 2010. I believe 2010 was when he retired, right? WrestleMania 26?
Yeah, but I don't think Sean was ever in a Money in the Bank ladder match.
I mean, he might not have been, but Money in the Bank's been going on since 2005, and Michaels was wrestling in 2010. So like,
well, he doesn't. Yeah,
significant overlap there. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to include him. All right, I think we can move on though. I hope Sean's happy with that answer. Fourth and final question here from Sean: can you do the same as above for the women?
I'm going to say Bull Nakano to start.
Gail Kim.
Very cool. Oh God, I'm about to be so limited here. Is Beth Phoenix still wrestling? Well, yeah, Women's Money in the Bank came later, so yeah, Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, we can include women up to like 2015, I think, 2016 even. I think the first bank was like 2017, 2018, something like that.
Yeah, so Bull Nakano and Beth Phoenix for me.
Yeah, all right. And I'll take Gail Kim, and I will take AJ Lee.
Very cool. Personal stuff aside, I feel like her athleticism would have made for an interesting Money in the Bank appearance for her. Melina. I'll do Melina for my last one.
Okay. I'm going to do a quick Google here because I'm very curious about a certain retired date. Okay, that's too late. I think that the final participant in this Money in the Bank ladder match will be someone that was, I think, pretty far ahead of her time, Jacqueline.
Ooh, I like that answer. Honorable mention, just to give one more, China, obviously. China, I think, would have been huge in that kind of ladder match with the barrier she already broke.
Fucking big show of a ladder match for the women.
Yeah.
I feel like China would have been a valid answer if we would have given picks for a men's Money in the Bank, because I don't think we've ever had a woman in the men's Money in the Bank before, have we?
No, we haven't. And Shorty,
She made it interesting because she's fucking awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised they haven't done that with like Nia yet or something like that.
Yeah. Thank goodness, though.
Get her in a feud with a world champion, have her attack someone in the Money in the Bank ladder match to try and get a spot for herself, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. 3 questions from Met Seth Stadler on Twitter. First up is just for me. He's been experimenting with recipes, apparently. He wants to know if I would eat a kimchi mozzarella omelet or a smoked salmon Havarti sandwich on a blueberry bagel. Simple answer here, no, because I have the palate of a 6-year-old. And literally none of those ingredients, aside from the cheeses, have any appeal to me. So
I, on the other hand, would try the smoked salmon with the Havarti on the blueberry bagel. I would definitely try that.
What is kimchi? I'm curious. It's a Korean cuisine.
It's like fermented vegetables in a way, like fermented spicy vegetables.
Absolutely not. Never touching it. No.
I think I would try both, but I'd want to try the blueberry bagel one first.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Question from Mets is, John, for you, who's your favorite horror film hero?
Oh, God. That is so easy. Dr. Loomis from the Halloween franchise.
Oh, yes, of
that
course.
Dude is fucking awesome. Because I'm a big fan of John Carpenter's Halloween, and he was the perfect antithesis to Michael Myers. And I love, too, that he was a good guy, but he was always honest. Like, he was never naive. Like, he tried telling people, like, hey, Michael's pure evil, and I knew it when he was 6 years old. Oh, really, that young? They're just a child. No! It's pure evil! And he never stepped off of it, and he kept fighting Michael tooth and nail. Donald Pleasence is an amazing fucking actor. Oh, my God. One of these days, I'll go back and I'll watch his other stuff, because I think he actually trained at, like, a theater school, like Shakespearean and stuff. I think he has that kind of education. And, man, like, so good in that role. And then behind him would be, of course, Laurie Strode. Just because, Scream Queen, all that stuff, Jamie Lee Curtis. That's why I'm excited for. We watched the new Halloween that came out, I think, 2 years ago, last year, somewhere around there.
It was last year. It was definitely last year was when we watched it.
When we watched it, I don't know if it came out, though, around the same time or if it was 2 years old when it was released. But
2018.
We know this. Oh, wow. So even a bit. Okay. So I know the sequel will be coming out soon. Can't wait for that. So, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasence. Yeah, that's right. So, Laurie Strode, and number one, definitely, Dr. fucking Loomis. Love Dr. Loomis. So,
awesome.
That was an easy one.
I think my answer to this would be Marty from Cabin in the Woods, man. I've never seen a more heroic act involving a bong.
Yeah.
Third and final question from Mets. Have you ever gone to a live wrestling show from your local independent promotions growing up? John, I know you have, so I'll let you tell your story first.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, Mets, I don't even know if you've been here for streams when I've talked about Force One in New Jersey. And they used to have shows as far out as Egg Harbor, and we would just drive there, me and a group of my friends. We were always the loudest portion of the crowd, like always. We called ourselves the Snake Pit because if you sucked, we'd eat you alive. If you were good at your job, we'd still eat you alive if you were a heel, but we would cheer our hearts out for you if you were a babyface. Really great fun. It's amazing to me, some of the people that I got to see in Force One that would go on to do bigger things. I mean, Joe Gacy, most recently, being in the Breakout Tournament. He's a former Force One champion. Sami Callihan was a long-reigning Force One champion, and obviously he's been doing stuff with Impact, and he had the NXT run. Rich Swann. I remember when Rich Swann said he wasn't going to be on Force One shows anymore. Like, him and we actually developed a little bit of a rapport. I remember sharing my heart out for him so bad because there was one Force One event where he had a really, really compelling match with Callahan. One of my dearest friends used to go by the wrestling name RV1. I am friends with him on Facebook. He stepped away from wrestling. He has for a couple of years. He's into acting now. Big cinephile, particularly with superhero media. And he's a loving father, a great friend. Love you, Rick. Absolutely amazing. A lot of great people. Some pieces of shit, but you get that in every wrestling circle. And yeah, just seeing Joe Gacy now in the Breakout Tournament, I'm so privileged for the stuff that I got to see in Force One. I'll never forget the very first Force One event I went to. I don't even think I went with my friends. I think Christy took me. And she's like, oh, John, this seems cool. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was a snob because I didn't even know Japanese wrestling at that point. But, I'm like, I watch WWE. I don't know what I would get out of this other wrestling. And I even joke that the wrestlers look like fucking templates that you make the call with. But I'll tell you, they fucking shut me up because the main event was RV1 with like a masked identity, and against Kevin Cunningham, who was the heel. His nickname was the Loudmouth of Perfection. And I think that was honestly the beginning of me fucking loving douchebags. And I think it was an I Quit match. And fucking RV1 did a coast to coast at one point, and we all lost our shit. It was fucking insane. And the heel actually ended up winning the match, Kevin Cunningham, because he got Rick's real life girlfriend at the time, now wife. I fucking adore them. They're just so wonderful. And he like threatened her, and that's what made him quit and unmask and like show that he's RV1. But man, it was one hell of a match. I saw moves from him. Again, coast to coast, which I hadn't seen in forever. And I think he even did a variation of a GTS that made me lose my fucking mind. It was great. So yeah, I have a long history of going to Force One shows. And that first event, just for that main event, was absolutely incredible. So what about you, Ashton?
Believe it or not, when I was I think I was 5. It would have been the summer of 96. So I would have been 5 years old. My dad took me to an ECW show at the original 2300 arena, like the original ECW arena.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't remember much. I remember the Dudley Boys very, very vividly. With like the fucking tie-dye shirts and the taped glasses and shit. And I do remember the Sandman, but that is pretty much it. I think I remember Mike Awesome too. I don't remember anything else though. That's really the extent of it. It was like, I was so young, I have a very, very limited memory of it. But literally never since then have I gone to any kind of a quote-unquote local wrestling show at all.
Oh, okay. All right. Great questions, Matt. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by these. All right, next set of questions.
First up, Alex Cage. Which wrestling entrance was better? Sandman at One Night Stand 2005 or CM Punk Money in the Bank 2011? I'm just going to go ahead and say Punk's was great from a crowd perspective, but Sandman's entrance from One Night Stand 05 is unfucking touchable in this category.
You know, I think ultimately I'll side with you, but man, the pop Punk it just gave goosebumps immediately, and there wasn't even a fucking lockup.
You're absolutely right. The crowd for that was better, but the actual entrance, he didn't do anything different. It was just a fucking entrance for CM Punk. Just the only difference was that the crowd was fucking wild for him.
Yeah.
But Sandman, this motherfucker busted himself open before he even got to the ring. Like, literally, this is the only time I believe in the history of WWE that they actually used a fucking licensed song for an entrance. I think there was like 1 or 2 times that maybe they did that for The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and they did it for the fucking Sandman. Are you kidding me? They can't even play that shit on the network because of copyright. So, like, they went above and beyond to make that entrance as special as possible, and he went above and beyond to make that entrance as special as possible with the fucking... I even remember, was that even the same show? No, it wasn't. Never mind. I'm thinking of a different show. But yeah, like, just the idea, though, that he comes out to the ring and he has this fucking kendo stick in the beers and he's cracking the beer over his head, literally gets himself to bleed before he even hits the ring. The crowd interaction, like, that's, to me, like, that's untouchable. I love the CM Punk entrance just because of the crowd response, but the crowd response is literally the only thing that makes that special.
Yeah, that's definitely fair points, man. Definitely fair points.
And Sandman has a crazy crowd response for his entrance, too, plus all the extra stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second question from Alex Cage. What's your favorite thing to barbecue?
I don't barbecue, so I can't answer this.
What the fuck kind of question is this? What do you think we are? Middle class? Jesus Christ.
Next question.
Next question. Third and final question from Alex Cage. Does the... there's a word in here that I think is botched. He said, does the Gage RSP, and that's the word that I don't know what the fuck he meant there, Cardona story have to end Mania weekend? So I think he's literally just asking if the Nick Gage, Matt Cardona, GCW storyline is going to have to end on Mania weekend.
I mean, probably. What better time would there be for it to culminate? I haven't even been following it besides the GIF of Cardona getting pelted with garbage. But yeah, I mean, if you want to maximize,
so far, Cardona beat Gage for the GCW World Title. Fans practically fucking rioted. He got the fuck out of there. Next day, he didn't show up. He literally, like, quote unquote, no-showed. Of course, it's a work. But he sent his, I guess, manager or press manager or something like that, Smart Mark Sterling, to cut a promo for him, basically. And I saw at one point in Sterling's promo, somebody literally threw a fucking pizza cutter at him.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Fuck that crowd. Anyway. But as far as whether it has to end Mania weekend, of course not. Is it most likely? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. If you really look at the wording of the question, nothing has to end until a promoter or booker or whatever feels like they've maximized what they can out of a storyline. And oftentimes people don't have a good talent for that, so they'll keep it going on longer than what they should. So It doesn't have to end at any particular point until they say it does. But yeah, next question.
Yeah, next question. We have one singular isolated question from DBK. What do you think's missing from Stardom and New Japan to get them talked about more outside of the wrestling bubble?
I mean, broader presence, really. And I'm not trying to put that on them. That takes time to build, but that's why I was getting excited for New Japan, because they were expanding into the U.S., and now I almost have to wonder if they're pandering to them maybe a bit too hard. But yeah, I think you want more people talking about you. You get in more venues. You get in more homes. Like, that's how... It's just growth, really, to put it succinctly. Obviously, marketing, I think, goes hand in hand with growth. I don't necessarily know their marketing strategies. I can't really speak to that. But, yeah, I mean, I think as far as the economics go, I mean, the price point for their subscription services are very cheap, cheaper than the WWE Network. Although now with Peacock just being $5, Peacock is cheaper. So I don't know if WWE, I doubt that they, like, consciously did that, like, oh, we'll stick it to New Japan and Stardom by going to a cheaper streaming service. But, you know, it is still relatively cheap, all things considered. So I think the economics are fine. I just think it's a matter of just, growth. That's really what it comes down to for me. But I feel like Ashton always answers his questions better than I do. So what do you think, man?
I mean, I'm honestly kind of questioning the validity of this question in the first place, because in the U.S., obviously, a Japanese anything isn't going to get talked about in the mainstream. But what if Stardom and New Japan do get talked about outside of the wrestling bubble in Japan, where they're actually, located and based? And we don't know whether they are or not, so I think it's not even fair to ask this question.
Yeah, and chances are they probably are talked about, like, in the Japanese mainstream. I mean, Mayu, I feel like, didn't her book do really well?
It did.
So, like...
Yeah, it did really well.
And, like, Okada has been in fucking Tekken video games and shit, like...
Yeah, Okada's been in all kinds of shit. Like, Tanahashi, Suzuki, they've been in anime and shit. Like, literally, fucking Ibushi got an anime of him, of his own. He was fucking Tiger Mask W. Like, come on.
So, yeah, I'd say they're doing okay. Yeah. You know, I didn't really think about any of that stuff at first, but then when it hit me, I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to say what are they missing for them to get talked about outside of the wrestling bubble in other countries? Really, I don't know if that's even possible, or even, like, maybe I shouldn't say it's impossible, but more along the lines of, like, it's extremely, extremely, extremely improbable for any Japanese content, I guess I should say, to break through to the mainstream in the U.S. or in any other country, because I know, DBK, you're from France. We're not talking about anime here. We're not talking about cartoons that kids can watch and enjoy. And, again, we're also not talking about something that can get dubbed in any given nation's, local language or most popular language or most common language or anything like that. We're literally talking about something that is Japanese, that's made by Japanese people for Japanese people, that slightly caters to English speakers, kind of, because they have, in Stardom's case, subtitles, in New Japan's case, commentary that's in English. Like, that's really the extent of it. Like, they're not really trying to have mainstream appeal outside of Japan, and they might already have it in Japan. you know?
Yeah.
Next set of questions are from Just Alex. Thank you for the questions, Alex. It's 3, actually. You got a full roster this time around. First up, what are your thoughts on Bryan Danielson wrestling in other promotions, and where would you like to see him land?
Good for him. Good for him. Obviously, the dream is always for guys of that caliber to do a G1 because, I mean, I haven't completely given up on New Japan, and I still would like to see it, right? And really, I guess just follow any dream matches that he would want because any dream matches that he has are just going to be good matches because he's already good even if he doesn't want to wrestle a guy. And I'm sure he's had to have had that in his long career. But when he wants to wrestle somebody, Jesus Christ, I'm there because you add his enthusiasm to it. Like, what could go wrong? So, no, I say good for him. Look, everybody has got to make a living. Everybody has got to apply their craft the way they know how. He gave a lot of years to that company. It's not like he left at the peak of his popularity. You know, it's not like he even left when they like forced him to retire and all that stuff. And he seemed like he really wanted to leave even then. They managed to keep him at the table. He did his time. And he put over Roman, their top act, in a big way before going out. To me, he was the consummate pro. This is an exit I have nothing negative to say about. I say good for him. May he wrestle to his heart's content how he wants, especially being a family man now. And I'd love a New Japan run. Not going to happen. That's okay, though, because as long as he's enjoying what he's doing, so am I.
All right. I personally am happy for him that he's going to get an opportunity, like John said, to wrestle against a new crop of challengers, of opponents, because I know that he is very much more about the art than the money at this point. And, you know, having an opportunity to kind of wrestle a relatively new crop of people is going to be very stimulating, very, I think, motivating for him. It's a little strange that he would leave WWE just because I feel like he already had a pretty decent amount of creative control there. Like, you could tell he was like literally picking his feuds, picking his opponents, picking, you know, when he would win and lose, that kind of stuff. Obviously cutting his promos without any kind of script or anything like that, maybe bullet points at worst. So a little bit surprising there, but at the end of the day, if he goes to AEW and he gets even more creative freedom and he gets a brand new set of people to work with and he loves that, then good on him, man. I'm happy for him. Especially if this opens the door to New Japan, because I have heard that that was like the absolute deal breaker and why he chose AEW over WWE was because he wanted to be able to work for that company and work New Japan matches. And WWE apparently literally moved heaven and earth to try and get that deal done, and New Japan had no interest. And AEW already has it in place, so that's why Bryan went AEW. So the downside is that I feel like all of the interesting junior heavyweight opponents that were in New Japan that Bryan could have faced aren't anymore, aside from Hiramu. Like, Hiramu's the last one to me that I'm really excited to see Bryan have a match with. So at this point, Bryan would literally need to be classified as a heavyweight to have really fun, interesting matches in New Japan. Because obviously, I think you and I could agree, Bryan versus Nagata even would be insanely interesting, because I've been saying Nagata reminds me of Bryan for so long. Bryan versus Suzuki is a fucking dream match and a half. Even like Bryan Tanahashi, Bryan Okada, Bryan Naito would be goddamn amazing. Bryan Ishii would be a fucking legendary matchup. There are a lot of dream matches between Bryan and heavyweights. My concern is that because of his stature, he wouldn't be considered a heavyweight in New Japan, and he would literally just lose every match against heavyweights because that's what juniors do in New Japan.
Right.
So, we'll see. We'll see. Second question from Just Alex. What are your thoughts on CM Punk possibly returning to the ring? Would his return get you to watch AEW if he shows up at All Out?
No. And that just shows you how, like, against AEW I. And here's the thing, too, with Punk. I think he's very similar. He's like the anti-Stone Cold in a way, because when Stone Cold, quote-unquote, took his ball and went home, there was so much intrigue around him. I remember WWE Magazine did a cover story, like, why he walked out. I think it was one of the best-selling issues that magazine ever did. And when he returned, they orchestrated it so perfectly, because he returned at No Way Out in Toronto, and I got to give Canadians their props. Toronto's always going to be a hot crowd. Canada is always going to be a hot crowd wherever you host a WWE show. It's like wrestling country over there. And he was going against Eric Bischoff, of all people, who was like a great heel at the time. And the ovation he got, if you guys haven't seen it in several years, go back and watch the ovation Stone Cold gets. His return was perfect. I think he was gone for maybe like about a year, maybe a little less than that. So like he was still white hot. The window for Punk, like being white hot, like to me it's past, and it's long past. He's in his 40s, and it's not even just that he's in his 40s, because we're seeing a lot of 40-year-olds perform well today, but he's a 40-year-old with considerable ring rust. I don't think he has the same veneer that he had, because I know how the internet is, and they're going to hold his UFC failures against him. He's not the same commodity that he was. To me, there's no interest. And now, if he wants to do it, I think the only thing that makes Punk viably interesting in an AEW environment is if they are serious about the creative freedom they allegedly give their performers, and they give that dude an open mic. Because if you give that dude an open mic, I still think Punk's probably a solid talker, and he could probably give AEW some of the most worthwhile promos they'll have in the next few years, just my opinion. But that's not enough to bring me to the table. I could very easily watch that on YouTube. Yeah. Like, just being honest, right? Yeah. So, no, he's not enough to bring me to the fold, and quite honestly, Brian isn't either. I mean, I support him wholeheartedly. There would have to be, like, any particular opponent he'd have to face. Like, if he faced Andrade, say, I would go on like, a Daily Motion or something. I would just fucking watch it there. Like, I don't really care to monetarily support AEW, just the same way that, if I'm honest, I've only originally started monetarily supporting WWE, and I look at it less as that and just making something more convenient for TWitWoW with my Peacock subscription. So, yeah, I'm just not big on it. Punk wouldn't bring me to the table. But I don't want to speak for you, bro. How do you feel?
Yeah, I honestly, here's the thing, Alex. If you want me to watch AEW, I already kind of technically am, because every Wednesday night at 8, my mom asks me to put it on for her because she loves Moxley. My mom is a huge Moxley fan, and now that they got Malachi Black, she loves him too. So she just basically has AEW on the living room TV, which is where I spend pretty much 99% of my time when I'm at home. So I basically already kind of have AEW. I pay about as much attention to AEW Dynamite every week as I do to Raw. Maybe even more, because during Raw we're playing Among Us, and that takes more of my attention than whatever the hell I'm doing when AEW is on most of the time. So I do have AEW on my TV already on Wednesdays nowadays. But Brian interests me about 1 billion times more than CM Punk right now, as far as joining the AEW roster, because with Punk, I feel like Punk's entire, like, hype, like, everything cool about CM Punk just isn't there anymore. It's just not there. Like, it's one of those things where, like, a big part of what made him such a huge attraction was that he was going up against the system, or at least that's what it felt like. It felt like he was going up against the system, and he was succeeding in a place that didn't want him to succeed. If he goes to AEW, he's going to be a fucking golden boy. He's going to be, like, fucking worshipped. It's not...
He'll be the New York Yankees.
Yeah, he's going to do what he told John Cena that he did. He's going to say, you've become what you hate. You have become the New York Yankees. Exactly. That'll be Punk if he goes to AEW, because, like, he's literally going to a place that only has interest in appealing to the fans that wanted him to beat the WWE system. Like, that's literally the exact crowd that AEW is already trying to appeal to. So there's no underdog story with Punk. And if Punk doesn't have an underdog story, I don't know if there's really anything interesting about him. Like, let him cut the same fucking promo that he's been cutting for 15 years about how underrated and how awesome he is. Like, I don't care anymore. We've seen you get your ass beat in real fights twice now. The mystique is destroyed. Not that I'm trying to say that I believed he could win in a real fight before, but when you're going up to a guy that looks like Kevin Nash, looking him in his face, or realistically under his nose, because that's all you can fucking see because you're 5'9", and you're telling him that you're going to kick his ass, There's nothing believable about that, especially now that we know that you can't even beat Mickey Gall's ass. Are you fucking kidding me right now? So no, I have no interest in a CM Punk return. That, if anything, would make me less interested in watching AEW. But thankfully, I'm going to be watching it regardless. And even more thankfully, Brian is going there, which is even more of a sure thing now than Punk. Punk is like a 50-50, I feel like. He could or he couldn't. Brian's like 95%. He's in the fucking bag. Like, he's there. So I am looking very much forward to Brian being there because, again, it's going to be on my TV regardless. So hopefully the product just improves. Brian being there will be a huge improvement to the product in my mind. Christian already is like the dude that I get the most excited to see every week. Brian is going to be a step up from that. So, like, if we get, like, even a Brian Christian feud, for fuck's sakes, those guys against each other would be cool as hell. I tell you what, though, John, as soon as you mentioned Andrade, I got hyped for the possibility of a Brian Andrade feud in AEW. That's, like, full chub.
Yeah, that's where the money is, because here's the thing. Where AEW is such a huge asset isn't just in the idea that Brian is an incredible wrestler and an even more incredible promo. Like, they really lucked out that they got both, because more often than not, you get one or the other. Very rarely you get both, and Brian is definitely both. But he's so fucking selfless, too. Like, here's the thing. If you're going to sign a guy that's predominantly got that WWE, I don't want to say that, like, stench, because that's very derogatory, but they're just mainly associated with WWE, you need, like, a legitimizer there, because I always hate when TNA used to put, like, their world title on big guys like that. Brian's going to be your selfless guy that'll make an MJF. They'll make a this one, they'll make a that one, and they'll do it without fucking complaining, because all they want to do is wrestle and get paid. And, go home to their kids. That's it. You've got the most selfless guy in your locker room now, and that's great for your product long term, because he'll help to make, like, a lot of guys. And depending on how long Brian wrestles, which that's entirely up to him, he may even be a Terry Funk-like figure, wrestling well beyond what we thought he would, and be like, I want to make that guy, I want to make that guy, I want to make that guy, because he just wants to give back to the business. I think for those reasons, the more personal reasons, this is such a get for them. Whereas everybody else just wants to scramble for the power of the pencil, but I digress. But yeah, all of the luck in the world to Brian, all the love in the world to Brian. He's amazing. I just don't care about AEW, honestly. I don't think any performer would get me there. I mean, again, Andrade's there, FTR are there, and that's not enough to get me tuned in. I like MJF. I do like him a little bit less, but I still do like him, and none of that is enough to make me tune in regularly. I just don't think I'm ever going to watch it. So
Malachi Black is there.
Yeah, Malachi Black. Yeah, great point. I love Alistair too, but and now again, like you said, now Malachi, but I'm never going to watch AEW. So yeah, goddamn. Next question.
I don't know, dude. I feel like we already know that they're kind of in bed with Bushiroad just because of the New Japan stuff. If they ever used their relationship with Bushiroad to start contracting Stardom people, I think that would be one legitimate possibility that could get you to at least pay some attention to some things on AEW.
God, Stardom, you are so lucky. I adore you with my whole heart, because if they would give some of that to Stardom, Stardom's worth me swallowing my pride and watching AEW.
Me, Stardom getting into a relationship with AEW is like Kevin Durant going to the fucking Lakers. Like, or going to Golden City, fuck, what the fuck am I, what's wrong with me? Wow, I'm actually going to have to fucking Google this. I'm stupid. I feel really slow right now. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Golden State Warriors. Why did I say the Lakers? Because that's where LeBron went. Fuck me. Yeah, Stardom getting into a relationship with AEW would be like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. Like, you take an already solid product in a lot of people's minds, and you literally just add something that completely shores up any weaknesses that you might have had. Because to me, I think that most people would agree, and even the hardcorest of hardcore AEW stans would agree, that the weakest aspect of their product is the women's division. You add Stardom to the mix, I mean, fuck, man.
Their chances of sucking drastically go down.
Yes.
But, yeah. Yeah, no, and really, for me, and again, I just always got to own my truth no matter how much of an asshole I sound like. For me, that is a win for AEW, no doubt, but I'm focusing more on what it means for Stardom. Like, AEW, you enjoy them while you got them, but for Stardom, I would hope that subscriptions to Stardom World would really go up after national TV presence. Really, like, I would like them to do that before Mayu and Tam leave, honestly, because you and I have already talked about that. I would like them to get a little something, because you put Mayu and Tam on there before they kind of pass their respective torches, right? You can maybe kind of drive those numbers. So I hope AEW does think about that fact. Like, hey, if we really want this kind of, we really want to up our women's division, let's get in contact with Stardom. So we'll see what happens. Whose question was this evening? Oh, yeah, this was Just Alex. So was that his last question?
No, third and final question from Just Alex. Why does WWE hate their fan base so much?
God, I feel like this is one of those questions that isn't even really a question.
No, I actually do have a legitimate answer.
Okay, you go first.
In my mind, it's because the fan base is the only thing that has any even remote possibility of changing how Vince plays with his toys. WWE is Vince McMahon, a billionaire, playing with his toys. He's a fucking kid in the backyard, playing with his toys, clashing them together, deciding who wins and who loses, picking his favorites. And the only thing that can affect his decision-making on that is fans. If the fans throw their weight behind a certain performer that Vince isn't a big fan of, he will not totally bend to their will, but there have been some situations where he has had to change certain booking decisions. For example, adding Bryan to the triple threat at WrestleMania 30, the Becky Lynch thing where, the plan was for her to go heel and the fans just were unwilling to accept it, and then the whole man gimmick sprung out of that. And even if it eventually might lead to more positive things for Vince than he thought he could get out of it, because, Becky Lynch becoming the man was obviously very financially and, even like television ratings wise, very profitable. He didn't fucking want it, so he's still pissy about it probably. At the end of the day, he just wants to be left alone. He wants to entertain himself. He wants to be able to do what the fuck he wants to do. He doesn't want to be interrupted. He doesn't want to be influenced. He wants to be able to play with his toys the way that he wants to play with them. And fuck you. That's why.
Okay, so here's my thing. I think everything Ashton said is valid and correct. I don't dispute that. I think why I was a bit flummoxed by this question at first, I think when you say, because how did Alex phrase the question again? Could you just read it one more time for me, Ashton, so I know the wording exactly?
Why does WWE hate their fan base so much?
Okay, so you just said broadly and generally their fan base. And see, that's where I took issue, because I think we need to be clear about which fan base we're referring to. Now, again, I think you're speaking in the broadest, most general sense. I think in Vince's mind, and I've always been kind of curious about this too, because actually the examples you noted, again, they are valid and they are correct. What was so special about those acts, though, is that they both broke through the mainstream. Like, we saw, like, College Games doing the Yes Chants. Obviously, Becky had popularity. I think she was being talked about on UFC podcasts and shit, and ESPN. So they had, like, that mainstream appeal. And then when the mainstream's breathing down your neck, it's like, oh, fuck. Well, now we got something, so now we got to do whatever. I almost have to wonder if it's not the fan base that Vince hates, but just the fan base that's predominantly on the internet. Because for one thing, I wonder, like, if in Vince's mind they don't even pay for this shit. Like, they pirate streams or whatever, or they pirate the pay-per-views. They don't even subscribe to the network or Peacock. And then, like, all this other stuff. Whereas the fans that actually pay, he's never actually, I think, going to hate those fans, at least not overtly, right? Because, like, they're buying the product and they're buying what they're selling. There's no reason to hate them so long as they're buying what they're selling. I think the people that he hates and he kind of thumbs his nose at are the people that are predominantly on the internet that go beyond just going to the shows or watching Raw or SmackDown with their families, and they do the whole articles, the podcast, the internet subculture, the IWC, I think he hates, because I think there's a presumption operating, well, they talk all this shit, yet they don't even pay for our content. They've never taken bumps, this and that. Like, their experience goes beyond that family-friendly experience I think Vince doesn't have a problem with, because they're making money from that experience. So I guess essentially what I'm getting at is I think we have to be more specific. Which part of the fan base does he hate? I think he hates us most of all, because there's the stigma that we don't pay for shit, we don't know what we're talking about, and we just complain for the sake of complaining. In some cases, I think that's valid. In a lot of cases, I think it's not. But I think that's the general perception of the internet subculture of pro wrestling. General casual audiences that go with their families, build memories, all that shit, it's got no problem with them because, again, they're buying what they're selling. So I think fan base is a little too broad. I think we need to be a bit more specific to find where the hatred's located. That's just my 2 cents. So, yeah, with that said, we can move on to our next set of questions.
And this is the big one this month, because last month we got a 5-question set from Hazardous Something that were all fantasy booking related. We told him we do not do fantasy booking questions anymore, and we allowed him to carry those 5 questions over until this month. So we've got 10 questions from Hazardous Something this month. Let's get this started. First up, what in your minds are the drawbacks, or the things that you didn't like, of WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki?
Oh, God, I really don't have much negatives to say about any of these.
WandaVision, I think, just an underwhelming villain, honestly. I think a lot of us were expecting something much bigger to be behind Agatha and, the fake Quicksilver and all that. And, why the fuck would you bring in Evan Peters to play a fake Quicksilver when there's not going to be any kind of big reveal that he was, Quicksilver from another dimension, or actually, a real actual twist there? He's just fucking Ralph Boner. That was stupid as hell. And Agatha being the big villain was kind of cool, but again, this idea that she's got this fucking rabbit that kind of felt ominous all season, and then that it just ended up being nothing, although I think it ate a bug at one point. I don't even remember. But yeah, I think just a really underwhelming final arc with, the whole Agatha thing, and even White Vision ended up being kind of underwhelming. It really just overall, I think that they just didn't stick the landing on that show, even if the concept was great.
Yeah, dude, it's funny you say that, because I do feel like that's one of Marvel's biggest problems in their movies. I think with Thanos as a major villain, I think they're going to do the same with Kang. That they got it, exactly right. Yeah. But a lot of their movies, while we're waiting for the ultimate big bad, the villains really aren't that impressive for the most part. I think it's very rare that you get a villain that was that was great from start to finish. They were competent, they were threatening, and Agatha had that potential. I mean, the song introducing her is fucking iconic. And that ending, and I killed Sparky too. I mean, yeah. If you love heels and you're a proud douchebag, and I know I am, you're sold. But the resolution, yeah, it was just bit anticlimactic. So I think I would co-sign on with that. But other than that, though, I felt like WandaVision was so different from Marvel, and I'm proud of them for going out of their comfort zone and doing something that was a bit genre bending in a way, just because of everything they lifted from sitcoms and shit. So yeah. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, again.
I will go right ahead and say, I did not like basically the entire climax of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because you've got Isaiah, I think that was his name, Isaiah, telling Sam, I can't imagine being a black man and being able to proudly wear those colors. And literally the next episode, he fucking does it. Sam, goes and puts on the red, white, and blue, and he's embracing the Captain America thing, and I'm just damn, we almost got a genuinely deep, genuinely well thought out, basically critical race theory storyline in a Marvel property, and then just nope, he's just gonna try and make it work from the inside now. Haha.
Everybody always does that. That's actually a really valid point. Now, of course, we know why. Disney, corporation, mass culture, all signs point to preserving the status quo.
They were dangerously close to being actually, deep there, though.
Yeah, better be careful on all that edge. But it really is a shame, because I swear to God, every superhero has 2 sides to them. One side's a fascist, and the other side's a reformist. And, yeah, it's just another case of, well, maybe I can make things better from the inside. It's do you remember
a big long speech about, maybe you should just stop to ask yourself why all these people are doing all these radical things, rather than just labeling them as terrorists. And it's well, that's a good start. But after this speech, they're going to go vote on that bill that they were already planning on voting on, and it's not going to be any different, and everything's going to be the same, and your speech isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, I love it too, because their path to changing things, and I even saw some more discourse about this with Professor X versus Magneto, because over the decades, Magneto now culturally is in a much different position than he was in his inception. Or like a lot of people side with him now, and they're like Professor X is just a reactionary. But it reminds me of that Arrested Development line between Tobias and his wife. I can't remember her name for the life of me, and I feel bad about that. But he's like, well, no, a lot of people delude themselves into thinking that it'll work, but maybe it'll work for us. And it's the same way with these fucking superheroes.
Lindsay.
That's right, Lindsay. Yes, Lindsay. And she's like, well, does it work? Well, no. And then Tobias' whole thing, and then he ends it with, but maybe it'll work for us. And it's like, God damn it, dude, you were right there. You were literally right there. Oh, God. So, but then Loki, I really liked Loki though, and that like, especially Kang's like introduction, I thought was perfect. I'm kind of with people. I'm kind of ambivalent on Sylvie because like I liked her ultimately, but I could see why maybe people wanted somebody different cast. That would probably be my drawback because I feel like there were times where I wanted a bit more from her that I didn't get. I don't know.
My whole thing was if she was supposed to be Lady Loki, I would not have liked the casting, but at no point in that entire series was she ever referred to as Lady Loki. And they were like, literally, they fucking pruned her off the timeline when she was a child because of how not Loki she was. So she was literally cast to be this character because she was nothing like Loki, which was my initial gripe, was that, oh, she looks nothing like Loki, she acts nothing like Loki, this makes no sense. But then it turns out that's literally why she was cast to play this character, because this character is nothing like Loki. To the point that she
right.
a Loki name,
That is true, yeah. That is true.
So like, I would have complained about that after episode, whatever the episode was, where we first meet her in that huge-ass convenience store or warehouse or whatever it is. But after seeing the entire series, I'm totally on board with the casting. She's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about you? Did you have any negatives of Loki, though, that you could feel like you'd want to offer up?
I think Loki is the toughest one to come up with negatives for. It was just such a good series. It was, I feel like, no, yeah, that's like, No, I can't think of any really major negatives from Loki, honestly. It's just, we've literally watched the entire series twice now already, or at least the entire first season, I should say, twice now already. I just fucking love it. It's and really it's funny because the next question is, how would you rank the 3 shows and why? Loki, I think, is number 1 for both of us, isn't it?
Loki 1 for me, WandaVision 2, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier 3 for me personally. I really like WandaVision, and if Loki wasn't as good as it was, WandaVision would have been number 1 for me. But yeah,
see, I'm gonna say Loki 1, Falcon and Winter Soldier 2, WandaVision 3, and the only reason is because like, I just feel like there was so much in WandaVision that had so much potential, and like 98% of that just went down the drain. Just nothing. Like, there was just no follow-up. There's not going to be a season 2. I can't imagine we're going to get significant follow-up on her fake kids or on White Vision running around with real Vision's memories, or like fucking, again, Ralph Boner, like whatever the hell that was. Like, I feel like there was so much that they put in there that might end up getting referenced down the line, but I feel like it should be much more thoroughly expanded upon, and it probably won't be, unfortunately. So I feel like I have a lot more problems with WandaVision than either of the other 2 shows. So yeah, I'm going to say Loki 1, Falcon and Winter Soldier 2, WandaVision 3. And also, let's be real, Falcon and Winter Soldier spawning a Captain America movie with Sam as the new Captain America, I think boosts it up a little bit for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can completely understand that.
Captain America, I think, has actually been like the most consistent series of movies.
Yeah.
Thor, the first 2.
Yeah.
Iron Man, the second one sucked, and the third one was kind of iffy. What other series have there even been? I feel like Ant-Man, they were okay. I mean, they were funny. They were good comedies, but not great Marvel movies like we kind of come to expect. Guardians of the Galaxy, I would say, is really, really strong, but it only has 2 Avengers in it. Like, all 3 of them were so good.
And Doctor Strange is only just now getting around to his 2nd film. But Multiverse of Madness looks so hype, though.
It does.
Oh my god.
I think Spider-Man might take the crown from Captain America for best, like, specific character movie series after No Way Home, though, because the first 2 were such fucking easy thumbs up movies. Like, they were just so good.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No doubt about that.
All right, let's get into our third question. What are your top 5 best characters from the 3 shows combined? And I want to really emphasize characters because he does then later ask who your top 5 best actors are. So those are separate questions. Top 5 best characters.
I feel like this is kind of going to be a mirror thing for me, though, because, like, I loved Loki and his arc in the Loki series.
Yeah, dude, I was even going to say, I think my number 1 favorite character from all 3 shows combined is fucking Mobius.
Mobius was great. I think Mobius would be my number 2. Like Loki as 1, because it's such a fucking charm there. And Mobius 2, Wanda 3, Vision 4, and then just to get Falcon and Winter Soldier in there, Sam at 5. Because I do think he's going to be a great Captain America in his solo movie. So
okay, yeah, our lists are very different. So I'm going to say Mobius 1.
Okay.
I think I'm going to put Isaiah at number 2 from Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think his name was Isaiah Bradley.
Are you still there?
Can you not hear me? Oh, God. We're going to have to hang up. I'm going to let him call me back. I know everyone else can hear me, so I'm just going to have to wait for him to call me back. There that is. Can you hear me now?
I thought you were having the longest think of all time, and then I'm like, oh, wait, that's not what's happening here. So yeah, Mobius 1.
Yeah, Mobius 1, Isaiah Bradley 2.
Okay, cool. I dig it.
Yeah, I wish we could get a whole series on him in his prime, honestly. I fucking loved him. Vision 3, actually. Loki 4. And then... Oh! Fuck me! I need to change my list. He Who Remains at 2, behind Mobius.
Okay.
So 1... Actually, God, do I even want to put him... Yeah, I do. He Who Remains at 1. Mobius at 2. Isaiah Bradley at 3. Vision at 4. And then who did I put? Oh, Loki. You know what? Oh, I'm not even going to put Loki there. I'm going to put Agatha Harkness at 5.
I like that. Okay, so then we move on to the actor/actresses.
Yeah. So I want to go over both of our lists again because it's kind of tough to remember. I've got He Who Remains at 1, Mobius at 2, Isaiah Bradley at 3, Vision at 4, and then Agatha Harkness at 5. Okay.
And then I had, if I remember correctly, Loki at 1, Mobius at 2, Wanda at 3,
Sam.
Vision at 4, and Sam at 5. Yeah, okay.
Okay. God, what is this? The fourth? Yeah, the fourth question from Hazardous Something. Top 5 best actors between those 3 shows combined.
Top 5 best actors. Can you still hear me, by the way? Because you did cut out there.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I just want to make sure.
I'm just going to double down on this. Number 1, Jonathan Majors.
I'm going to say number 1 on this as far as actors. Tom Hiddleston. I fucking love him. Dude's charming as fuck. 2, I'm actually going to say, just because I loved the personality of Agatha, even if she was kind of anticlimactic, Catherine Hahn fucking killed it. I mean, again, that song alone is probably one of the most iconic things of all 3 series, if we're being honest. So, Catherine Hahn at 2. Owen Wilson. Actually, no, Jonathan Majors at 3. Because he only got like that 1 episode and he killed it. Owen Wilson at 4. And then who plays Vision? What's the actor's name there?
Oh, God. I got to look it up. I don't remember. Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, I think I'd put him at 5 because, he did really good too.
I'm going to put Paul Bettany at 2.
Cool.
So I've got Jonathan Majors at 1, Paul Bettany at 2. Who's your 5? I think you said that Paul Bettany was your 4, right?
Paul Bettany was, I think, my 5, because at 4 I put Owen Wilson, I think, because I put Jonathan Majors at 3.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Which actually, you know what? Do I like Paul Bettany more, or do I like Elizabeth Olsen more? Because Elizabeth Olsen killed it at one. I killed it as Wanda.
I'm going to put Elizabeth Olsen at 3. I think Paul Bettany. Actually, I will put Elizabeth Olsen at 2. Her performance was amazing. So yeah, I'm going to say Liz Olsen at 2, Paul Bettany at 3. I think that's the thing. Their performances, I think, were the best part of the show. I think the worst part of the show was the poor writing towards the tail end. Or maybe I shouldn't even say the poor writing, more just missed opportunities in my mind towards the end.
Yeah, I think I put. Okay, so I did Tom Hiddleston at 1, Catherine Hahn at 2, Jonathan Majors at 3. Then I put Owen Wilson at 4. You know what? Swap Owen Wilson out for Elizabeth Olsen. Elizabeth Olsen at 4. I liked Owen Wilson as Mobius. I thought he was very charming. But Elizabeth Olsen was fucking great. I think she portrayed grief so well in that series. So I'll swap mine out a little bit.
All right. So I've got Jonathan Majors at 1, Liz Olsen at 2, Paul Bettany at 3. God, I think I want to put Catherine Hahn at 4, man. WandaVision had such a fucking good cast. And then I'll put Tom Hiddleston at 5. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, like, Jonathan Majors as Kang was just the fucking star of everything. Like, as soon as he showed up on screen, I immediately was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is perfect. This works so well. And the more he spoke and the more he kind of, emoted and acted, I guess you could say, the more in love with this pairing, him playing this character, I fell,
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on. Our 5th question here. What are your top 5 favorite scenes/moments from the 3 shows combined?
Oh, from the 3 shows combined.
Again, number 1 for me is the entire He Who Remains explanation of what the fuck's going on and what he's brought them here to do.
I'm going to work a bit out of order. I'd say 5, it was Agatha All Along. I keep mentioning that song. It has to be on the list for me. Because it's just so good. Such a great reveal. I'm going to put, you know what I'm going to put, I think, at 3. That's why I said I was going to go out of order. When Loki is watching the film strip of his life, just alone because he's evaded the TVA.
That's a very good one.
That's a great moment there.
Single tear, yeah.
I'd say at 2, only because of the and maybe even at 1, but I'm going to put it at 2 right now, only because I want to circle through and make sure there isn't one I like better. The introduction of Kang, just because it's literally going to change everything. And again, it was just so well done. So 2 Kang, 5 Agatha All Along, 3 Loki looking at the film strip of his life. So that would leave 4 and 1. Oh, man. Fuck.
I think it's actually surprisingly difficult to come up with a favorite scene from the first 2. Not because there weren't any great scenes, but more because there weren't any scenes that were like, holy fuck, this scene's going to go down as legendary the way that there were in Loki.
Yeah, because with Loki, I'd even say 1 would be Old Man Loki, like kind of like reviving
Classic
like Asgard
Loki.
and stuff.
Yeah.
That was fucking powerful. I'd put that at 1.
Wait, you're seriously at 1?
Well, yeah, I was moved by that. I thought that was beautiful. It's either that or Kang, but again, like I'm really gonna have to think this through before I lock in my list. Because the thing with WandaVision, I liked the goodbye that she had with Vision before she kind of left that world and kind of returned to town.
That was cool.
That was again, because like it's not just about the big explosive or loud moments. It is about like the softer, more quiet moments. And that show to me, not to get all academic about it, but I do think it was a meditation on grief.
Oh yeah.
And it was just so well done. So, I think I'll actually, you know what? I almost kind of want to put that at 1, only because, again, I think it was so different from most of what Marvel does. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll switch the Loki scene I put at 1. I'll put that at 4, because that seems to be a fair place. And I'll put the last heart-to-heart between Wanda and Vision at 1. That really tugged at my heartstrings. So I'm going to go with that.
I think my number 1 is, like I said, He Who Remains explaining everything to Loki and Sylvie. That's just next level acting to me, next level everything. Just an amazing beginning to end sequence. Number 2, actually, I think my number 2 is going to be Isaiah explaining to Sam what they fucking did to him once when he survived the super soldier serum. I think that's my number 2. Number 3, I am going to say the brief actual conversation between Wanda's Vision and White Vision in that library, where Vision like basically proposes a paradox of how can I be a true Vision when you've got all of the original Vision's parts, and like basically sets it up to break White Vision's programming and then gives him his memories and sends him off. That is number 3 for me. Number 4, I think, is going to be the magic show from WandaVision.
Oh, that was a great one. That's a great pick.
I absolutely loved that scene. And then number 5 is going to be the ship repairing sequence from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, great picks, man. I like that.
Next up, our 6th question from Hazardous. Top 3 worst DCEU movies.
Suicide Squad at 1. That is so fucking easy. I hated that movie.
Believe it or not, as annoying as that movie is, its brevity alone keeps it at 2 for me.
Do you have a 1?
Man of Steel.
You know what? I'll put that at 2. I'm sorry, dude. I just really hate Suicide Squad.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. I'm totally on board with you. I totally see your vision. I can sit through Suicide Squad and watch the whole movie and maybe be slightly annoyed by the end, but not be downright angry or feel like I'm wasting my time. I literally can't fucking do that with Man of Steel. It's too fucking long.
Yeah, so I'll put Man of Steel at 2. And then for 3, I think I'll say to a point Wonder Woman 1984. Because I think compared to the first one, it wasn't nearly as good to me. The first one actually gave me hope that the DCEU could maybe be something of competition to the MCU, even though MCU has got such a fucking leg up. But yeah, 1984 kind of fell flat for me. And honestly, the criticisms that people pointed out that were, to me, valid kind of made me like the movie even less. So I'll put Wonder Woman 1984 at 3.
I think that's a really good pick. I'm low-key tempted to just share that with you. I want to give one last look over the lineup before I do, though. And... oh, no, Birds of Prey, number 3 for me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can understand that. The trailer made it look like it was going to be fun, but yeah, it kind of fell flat for me, too. But Wonder Woman 1984, again, I think some of the things they did
I would probably put Wonder Woman 84 at 4th worst, and then Aquaman at 5th worst.
Yeah. Damn DCEU. I'm telling you, though, Robert Pattinson could save the DCEU with his Batman. I am so fucking hyped for that. I don't know how DCEU keeps bringing me back, but they do, and that Batman looks fucking hype.
I think if I were to rank them positively, I would say Shazam at 1.
Agreed.
Wonder Woman at 2.
Yeah.
I think the Snyder Cut would probably be at 3.
Yeah, relative to the DCEU movies we've seen, I think that's entirely agreeable to me, because I love Shazam. I think that's one of the best ones they've done. Yeah. Literally the best one they've done if we're putting it at 1. Wonder Woman was a very pleasant surprise to me. And then, the Snyder Cut,
Wonder Woman is... I put Wonder Woman... I think I would probably rank Wonder Woman top 5 regardless of brand. Like top 5 superhero movie of all time, Marvel, DC doesn't matter. Literally just period. Top 5 favorite superhero movie of all time.
Yeah. I mean, DCEU, if you want to get me hyped, if you want to know, like, the DCEU equivalent of, like, a fucking Fantastic Four with a proper Doctor Doom, give me a proper Deathstroke movie, I'm fucking there. I fucking love Deathstroke.
I feel like that's very niche specific to you, though. I don't think he's that popular of a guy.
I think he's gained some popularity, but you're right. Relative to my taste, he's not that popular, but I think it has gone up in recent years, so I never know. But... hell, either that or a properly done Teen Titans movie where you can make a new crop, a new generation of actors.
We gotta check out Titans, the HBO series.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I don't know if anybody here has watched it and is a fan, but that's right, Foster.
Oh, God.
And it matters even more because he's so fucking handsome. Like, John, I love you, dude. I fucking love you so much.
Can you hear me?
Next question.
John, can you hear me? John.
Oh, God.
Jesus fucking Christ, he couldn't hear me that whole time. I'm going to wait for him to call me back. And again. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, dude, you cut out there pretty bad. We didn't hear anything you said to Foster.
Oh, goddamn. Well, he already knows. I was going to say, like, yes, Foster Slade, exactly. He's such a great character, and I love when Foster has my back, especially because he's just so beautiful as a person, and he's so handsome. So thank you, Foster. I love you so fucking much. That is what I said. We can move on to the next question.
All right, next question. Do you plan on watching the hundreds of episodes from the Arrowverse or Gotham?
I've watched more Arrow than Gotham, so I have to say Arrowverse.
I think when he says the Arrowverse, it's including Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, whatever the fucking time traveling show is that they have that I don't remember the name of, that includes characters from all those shows, like that whole unified universe kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that time traveling show actually did seem good. I forget what the name of it is, but that actually seemed to be one of the better ones on the CW. Legends of Tomorrow, that's right.
There it is.
So yeah. I still have seen more of those shows combined, even if we're only talking clips and stuff, than I have of Gotham. So I still got to go Arrowverse. Literally because I just can't answer it substantively.
All right. Next up, what would each of you say to them in only one sentence? Basically, he wants to name somebody. I'm going to go back and actually reread his exact wording here because it's a little longer, and I try and keep these questions trimmed down because of the document size. I have a fun idea for the last 3 questions. No fantasy booking, I promise. I'm going to give you 3 names. It can be anyone in wrestling, movies, shows, music, etc. It's very simple. What would each of you say to them in only one sentence? It can be a question, a praise, an insult, a joke. And just to add more fun, it's interactive time for everyone in the chat. Everyone can participate. Number 8, or question number 8, I should say, Clark Gregg. Not Philip Coulson, the character, but the actor Clark Gregg.
I've also seen him in The West Wing, and I think those are the only 2 things. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and The West Wing. He's a great actor. Great actor. Love it. Oh, and wasn't he in Captain Marvel, right? And the first Iron Man movie and Avengers. So yeah, amazing actor. Amazing fucking actor.
So what one sentence would you say to him?
I mean, that's it. You're an amazing actor, sir. There you go. One sentence.
Okay. I think I would ask him a question. I would say, how many of Coulson's lines in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did you improvise versus how many of them were actually written for you?
That's a great question. Absolutely.
I really want to know the answer to that, actually. The 9th question is, again, we're playing this game. It's Tomohiro Ishii.
Please don't kill me.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
I would do my best to learn how to say and pronounce correctly in Japanese. You're a legend. Thank you for everything you've done. I really want to see you win the world title one day.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
And I would say all of that while literally doing the legend bow to him.
Yeah.
Final question, and the final name on this list, L.A. Knight.
Suck less.
Come on, man. You can't keep them all so succinct. It's one sentence, not 2 words.
Please stop ripping off The Rock and get an original identity.
See, that's fair. That's fair. Would you actually face though?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I think I literally told a tag team in Force 1 that just wasn't getting over to suck less, and I actually talked to the other guy, like, shoot style while the match was going because they were just so uninteresting. So I'm not afraid to shit on a wrestler's dreams.
Oh my god. I think I would say something along the lines of like, you know, you're a pretty charismatic dude, but it would go a lot further if you didn't keep copying The Rock's promo style. John? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Did the call drop? Yeah, the call dropped. Okay. Hello?
Okay, it said the connection was lost there. I don't know if it's my internet because it is raining over here or what, but it's really starting to annoy me now. Did we even get what I said? Because you said, would you really say it to his face?
Yes, we got everything you said.
Awesome.
Thing was, I would say, listen, man, you're super charismatic and you could do really well, but do you really have to rip off the exact promo style of The Rock?
Yeah, exactly.
I basically said the same thing you said. I was just, I guess, gentler about it.
I was thinking the word gentler. I mean, that is so you. You're such a gentle soul. So, yeah.
All right, that's it for Hazardous Something's questions. Let's get to our next question, and I say question because it is only one. It is from Angel. He basically said that he is Puerto Rican, and he has always hated gimmicks that were centered around race for a cheap pop, and he could never cheer for Savio Vega or Primo Colon because he prefers people like Carlito, whose gimmick was completely independent of his heritage. And he wants to know how we feel about racially infused gimmicks. And just for the hell of it, he would also like to know who we think has the best gimmick, who also happens to be from Puerto Rico.
All right. Well, I kind of answered this question to him on the phone. You know, when he asked me, he's like, "Oh, can I ask for Q&A?" And I'm like, "Sure." I don't think Ash would have a problem with that. And clearly we didn't because it made it to the show. I think I could speak for both of us when it's like gimmicks that are just based on race or that like stereotype race negatively. Like one example I used with Angel was like Crime Time. You know, we're not here for because I think it. What was I going to say? It treats like that particular identity, whether it's like being Hispanic, being Black, being Puerto Rican, as very monolithic. And it kind of like punches down to me at those identities. Yeah. But if you could have a character independent of that, like think about like a Mil Muertes, right?
Dude, Mil is my answer. Mil was literally my answer to this question. He's Puerto Rican.
Yeah. And you figure, like, he's kind of the answer to The Undertaker in the sense that, like, he's like this undead type character. Nothing to do with his identity. That's the fucking shit we're here for. I'm going to be honest because I'm fucking uncultured as shit. I actually looked up Puerto Rican wrestlers. Apparently Cross is also Puerto Rican. And I know Angel says, like, he really likes Cross's gimmick and everything. So let me just look at male wrestlers, and then I wonder if there's a separate list for female wrestlers.
I mean,
oh my God,
but she's very wrapped up in her heritage.
I know Eddie Kingston would be a lot of people's answer.
Yeah.
But let's see. God, I really don't want to take too long on this. Forgive me, guys. I should have been more prepared for this because I actually knew this question was coming. Let's see. I thought this was going to say Thunder Rosa, and I could have said her, but no, she's not on this. Well, actually, no. Is Thunder
Mexican.
Rosa?
She's Mexican.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought so. God damn it. All right, Puerto Rican female wrestlers. Come on, women. Don't let me down now.
I think, isn't Punishment Martinez, is he Puerto Rican?
Actually, you know what? I'll say...
Priest, I should say. Damian Priest.
Damian Priest is... I'll say Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega's on this list, so I'll go with her. Yeah, I really like her.
Priest is also Puerto Rican, though, and his gimmick is literally completely independent of him being Puerto Rican.
Yeah. All right, so I think that sufficiently answers the question. So yeah, let's move on.
Next question is from Mark. If a multiverse is real in real life, what do you think some Ashton and John variants are like?
I'm gonna be totally honest, dude. I was catching up on the chat because I know it's gotten way weirder than I'm comfortable with.
It.
Can you repeat the question?
If a multiverse is real in real life, what do you think some Ashton and John variants are like?
There's a variant of me that's emotionally healthy. That hasn't been like fucking traumatized and shit. There's definitely that variant. There's a variant that
there's a universe out there where there are variants of us that met much earlier and became friends as like teenagers.
Yeah. There are also probably variants of us that are bitter enemies. There are also probably variants of me personally that like weren't born prematurely. Or even took a completely different life path. You know, maybe there's a variant of me because I was very much into science and I guess what you would call engineering as a kid because I was very much into inventors and stuff that like stuck on that path. You know, that's why I've always been kind of charmed by multiverse theory. It's really cool to think about. But yeah. Is there a John variant that likes mouth? Mark, you wash your fucking mouth out right now. There could be an infinite number of universes. There definitely isn't. You hush your face. Hush your face.
It's infinite, John.
Well, yeah. You know what isn't infinite? Your face. So mind your opinions. Focus on your own variant. John math variant. Ridiculous. Oh, long hair John Cena. That's more comfortable. That's more my speed. Math variant.
Seems there's bald variants of me.
Oh, God. I can see it. Oh, man. I wonder if there's a variant of you that actually got to be a coach for the NFL or something. Just because you're looking at all the stats and shit, so you're actually like on the field doing what you do.
Dude, there are variants of me that fucking hate statistics and analytics and only care about film.
There you go.
I hope that there's a variant of me who's in politics.
That would be interesting.
Dude, I've unironically considered running for like some kind of like local office of some kind.
Well, this variant of you, I'm all for, but I'm thinking of a variant of you that still has like, you know, why are you voting against me? I'm right. And then they just like go all the way to the end of the line. I've always thought supervillain, low-key authoritarian Ashton would be really successful. I vibe with that fucking idea, unironically. Ashton, what are you doing? If you end this treaty, what? It'll destabilize the region, thus making world peace inevitable? Yes, I know. But you'll destroy the entire economy. Well, I did the utilitarian calculus, and it all adds up. And then you're just, I don't know, stroking a cat or something. Just amazing.
Oh God, I love that you said utilitarian calculus.
Yeah.
That is legitimately the most evil possible way to put what that would be doing.
Yeah. I'm telling you, supervillain Ashton, I know he exists. There is a variant of Ashton that uses the intellect that you possess. Like, fuck making a dual disc out of Canax. Is making like fucking something malevolent out of him. I low-key stand that variant just because I want to see how far they'll go before everything falls apart.
I don't know if your enthusiasm about being evil.
I mean, I just want to see you on your Dr. Doom shit, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Next up, we've got 3 from Rotten Butter, including the first question from Rotten Butter, which is the same as it is every month.
Oh God, dude, we've gotten so deep in this.
Take over the world.
Yeah, we've been so deep in this Q&A. I actually forgot about Rotten Butter's questions, to be honest.
Oh my.
Yeah. So I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine with the family. That's cool. Watching the show Louder Milk, which is
that show was propaganda.
It is propaganda, but you know what, dude? Think about how many separations we make with people that are already problematic. So I can turn my brain off to some propaganda.
I'm not trying to challenge you and be like, "How dare you watch that show?" I was more reaffirming that is what you said that it was.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. I'm actually curious because their final season's coming up, and they did say they're going to address Black Lives Matter. I am really curious what milquetoast reactionary position they're going to choose on the wheel of reaction. I don't think, because Terry Crews and other black people are on the cast, they'll go, 13, 50 and be like, well, solve the problem. It needs to begin in the black community because, that would just get canceled immediately. But they'll probably go with, police and black people, maybe if we just hug it out and we talk to each other.
No, dude,
and it's still going to make me
exactly what their actual response is going to be. not all black people hate police, and not all police are murderers. So we shouldn't judge an entire group due to a few bad eggs.
Yeah. God, it's... I'm really, because here's the thing, I do love the cast, and I do think, like, as a show, it's solid and it's very entertaining.
I'm surprised Andy Samberg is attached to something like that. I never really took him as the liberal type.
Yeah, but, you know, like, I'm really not looking forward to them tackling those episodes, because, again, we just got done saying about Marvel and stuff. Anything that appeals to the mass culture is always going to be inherently reactionary and always, like, prop up the status quo. So, yeah, it's gross. Oh, wow, Foster said the guy who plays Scully, and I obviously get that reference because I watched the show, is following him on Twitter. That's so cool, Foster. Scully, his character is so gross, but he plays it so well. So, yeah, we're doing Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Louder Milk, which is a great show.
It's not Jason Mantzoukas, is it?
No, he actually was, though, on the show, and like kind of like a guest / recurring role as an Officer Pimento, and it's every bit as insane and wonderful as you'd think that it is.
Oh, that's lovely. I love it. I want to see it now.
So, Louder Milk is a great show. What else have we been watching? Because I was about to say it, and then this whole thing about Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of threw me off track. Fuck, what's the one show we're watching? Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's Louder Milk. Oh my god, I fucking blanked, and I hate myself for it. Oh, well, American Gods. That's a big one we're watching. American Gods is fucking crazy. Crazy. Oh my god. Love it, though. Love it, though. It's just... Damn. What else are we watching? I feel like there was another show. We watched One Punch Man Season 2. I'm so sorry, guys, but I'm really stuck on this. And I feel like there's a show we were watching that we pressed pause on because we got into American Gods. There's Louder Milk. There's Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We've done this reality show, Love Island. It's aight. You know, certain reality shows are hit or miss. Yeah, you tell them, Foster. You tell them. Let me think. What else? There's that. Fuck. There was one show, and I swear I was about to say it, and then it was like the propaganda discourse, and I dropped the ball. Forget it. If it comes back to me, it comes back to me.
I feel bad. This is my fault.
I mean, you low-key should. I'm not going to lie. I'm definitely going to double down on that, but it's okay. But no, let me just think about what else. I know we've done movies. Actually, we did Baby Driver. That wasn't a bad movie. That was actually surprisingly good, despite Kevin Spacey being in it, because, you know, you immediately think about everything that happened, but I digress. Fuck. Obviously, we've done Rocket League and Brawlhalla. You and I are doing Digimon Adventures.
2020.
Most recent one, 2020. Digimon Adventures 2020. Which, my God, it's the most anime of all the Digimon stuff that we've watched together. And I say that in the best way. Very adult, it's not afraid to, you know, get dark and have tense moments. Music-wise, I gotta thank Asher for this one. Showed me Lil Nas X's latest song. I'm gonna be honest about Lil Nas. Like, I never cared for Hometown Road.
Old Town Road.
Well, see, that just shows you how little I cared for it. I never cared for it. I really didn't like it, just because I always had an adversarial relationship to country music. I was happy for him, but I just didn't care for the song. This song, though, that you sent me, I want to pull it up and get the right title of it. What was it called? Industry Baby. Industry Baby. Yeah, that was great. He's got legit freaking bars, and everybody's so caught up on, but he's gay, and I don't know if this is a message we need. And then, of course, you know, certain actual rappers, I think T.I. had something to say about it, DaBaby had something to say about it, because, you know, there is like a lot of internalized homophobia and just really anti-saga sentiments in general in, you know, that part of the culture. Because I think, you know, there are also ideas of toxic masculinity and stuff like that coincide with that. So I'm happy to see Lil Nas X doing his fucking thing, having legit fucking bars and being unapologetic the entire time. I know you and I had a great conversation about it. So yeah, we did that. Just heard that Mosaic's going to be dropping music, and I listened to one of their older songs this month, Day by Day. It's a great track. They're coming out with a 6-track EP, September 3rd. I can't fucking wait. Oh my God, I'm so hyped. I listened to some Nevertell this month. They're great. One thing I have wanted to listen to, and I've listened to a little bit, Lil Baby, which is different from Da Baby. He put out an album with somebody. I've been meaning to listen to that. I haven't gotten around to it, but I did listen to Ramen and OJ, in which he's featured.
I prefer Da Baby to Lil Baby. I've heard them both. I think Da Baby is much better, personally.
I'm going to be honest. I genuinely thought you were getting ready to make a joke there. I'm really happy you were making a sincere point to not throw off my momentum. I appreciate that. So you prefer Da Baby then. I like Lil Baby. I've just been meaning to listen to more of his stuff.
Yeah, I know you were kind of bragging about, or not bragging, but like trying to get people to listen to his Rap Star song, right?
No, I think you're, are you thinking about, oh my God, are you, Polo G maybe? Because I know Polo G,
I was... Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yes, I'm on my fucking game, bro, anymore with music. Believe me.
I love that you're getting more into music, just in general. That's awesome.
Yeah, like Polo G, it's funny because I don't think this applies because it's this month, and I think Polo G's album was last month. It's amazing how polarizing Polo G is, y'all. I don't know, like, if anybody here listens to him, I low-key doubt it. But I think as a melodic rapper, he's not bad. He's really not bad. I think one of the best songs on the album was Painting Pictures, which I think is due for a re-listen from me. But Joyner Lucas, though, is setting the world on fire. I still listen to Ramen and OJ. I listened to that while working out recently. I think that might be my song of the year. I fucking love Ramen and OJ. I've been playing that shit non-fucking stop.
I'm waiting for Paul to show up and be like, oh, but you think my taste is weird.
And then I would be like, simmer down, Paul. It's a separate thing. Go to your room. And then he'd probably have a clever response because I'm deeply insecure inside. But this isn't about me, goddammit. So, that's happening. And music-wise, I'm still listening to the same stuff. I can't really say that I've listened to anything. Actually, no. That's actually a lie. Montage Rock came back a few weeks ago, one of my favorite YouTube channels, just because they've introduced me to so many bands. Site of Impact had a song, Unrealistic, that I've replayed a lot. And actually, I even heard them before that song because remember Ashton a while back after Shuri and Utami's incredible match at Tokyo Dream Cinderella that I told you I watched like a 9-minute highlight video of it?
Yeah.
The track to that was another song by Site of Impact called Ballad of the Sea, which is really good. Nice. So, yeah, I actually have listened to some new stuff. Site of Impact. Again, my music powers growing. Yeah. That felt good? Yeah. So that's me on music. Nothing really new with the gaming, because again, Ash and I are doing Rocket League Brawlhalla. I'll still occasionally do Fire Pro Wrestling. I still think there's more stuff I did with the family that I'm pissed off that I am not remembering. But yeah, American Gods is the big thing we're doing, and I'm really enjoying that. And I think actually, and reading, you guys know I'm on my fucking nerd shit. I never go into the specific one I'm reading because we'd be here for an hour. And I'm helping a friend with her dissertation, and I have been for a little while now.
You call it nerd shit when it's very clearly more like academic shit.
I just lump it all together, honestly. But yeah, I'm helping a friend of mine with her PhD. I have been for several months. So that's been one really cool thing I'm doing. Roman philosophy, which I bust her balls about it all the time because there's even a meme out there that's like, have you ever seen the Mr. Bean meme where he's like writing something, but he's very clearly looking at somebody else's paper?
Yes.
Have you ever seen? Okay, so you have. Mr. Bean is Roman philosophy, and the other guy's paper is Greek philosophy because a lot of the jokes are, Roman philosophy just Romanized what the Greeks already did. Right. And I bust her balls about that all the time. I'm like, why are you doing Cicero when everybody just does Plato? She's like, I don't want to do Plato. And she's great. She's great. She really busts my chops, but I like that. I like somebody that can give it back to me. That's why I like this son of a bitch so much, because he has some bars on me sometimes where I'm like, you're a very perceptive asshole. And I love people like that. So, yeah, I've been helping her with her PhD, and we're making great progress. Foster, you're too beautiful to go to your room, but god damn it, you're really abusing that privilege, man. I can't lie.
That's what I was laughing at, was Foster's joke.
Yeah, you're really abusing that privilege, man. But you're just so goddamn handsome. I can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an earned privilege in this case.
Don't tell him what it is, okay? Don't give him ideas.
Don't tell me what
You're telling it that apparently at the very end, because your voice just picked up just a little bit with like the shock, like the offended surprise. Like, how dare you put me in this situation right now?
Trying to keep me in check. I'll check myself when I feel like it's necessary, damn it.
We watched A Quiet Place Part 2. Was that this month? I feel like that was this month.
I think it was.
Yeah, I'm actually glad I remembered that.
Long fucking month, man.
I mean, I kind of want to concede the floor, but I also don't want to concede. But I think, I don't want to, like, drone on. Oh, and also, I think another thing I did this month, and I know for a fact we did, because it was my brother-in-law's birthday month, we played the card game Flux, and that was, like, quite a bit of fun. I think we're due to play another round of that soon. I'll field it to the family, see if they want to do it. But, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. What about you? You do the rest.
Oh, God, don't even. I
just did. Do it. Sorry, that was residual from the conversation earlier.
I was waiting for you to say, bitch.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's our Q&A. Answer the question, bitch.
Yeah. Oh, God, we need Jesse Pinkman in one of these. It'd be fucking great.
Yeah. So as far as content, yeah, like you said, Digimon Adventure 2020, and we are on episode 27 was the last one that we watched, I believe. It's fucking great. I think John a lot of the time will only just watch this stuff because he knows how much I love it to entertain me. But at the end of the day, I think it's the ADHD, which I'm not officially diagnosed with, but I'm very, very convinced I have. I can't watch Japanese, really anything that's got a language that I don't understand with subtitles by myself, because I don't have the attention span to pay enough attention to know what the fuck's going on. So in order for me to be able to do that, it has to be watching with somebody to maintain my attention on the property that we're watching. So yeah, John watching this kind of stuff with me is pretty much the only way that I'm going to be able to watch it, because otherwise I'll put it on my TV and stop paying attention to it 10 minutes in. That's just how my brain works, unfortunately. But that being said, it's been great so far. I've loved it. Not completely without complaints, but the complaints are pretty nitpicky and pretty minor. But at the end of the day, big thumbs up. I really don't feel like we've watched that much else this month, though. I mean, I think we did finish our MCU rewatch, which involved watching, like Infinity War and Endgame and Spider-Man and the end of AOS, which we've already seen a couple times and stuff like that. But other than that, it really just has been YouTube content and Digimon Adventure 2020. We literally were at a point where we just like didn't know what to do, and I was like, "You want to do this?" And he was like, whatever." That's how we got Adventure 2022. I mean, as far as YouTube content goes, again, I'm on my tech shit. I've been keeping up with all the tech YouTubers, MKBHD, Renee Ritchie, Hardware Canucks, Hardware Unboxed, Linus, Dave 2D, Jared's Tech Tips, Gizmo Slip Tech. Lots and lots of tech channels that I've been subscribed to for a little while now. One big update in my life is I finally ordered my laptop. That's the good news. The bad news is when I first ordered it, it said it would ship today and arrive on Tuesday. And I checked last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it said, it'll ship on August 10th and arrive on the 13th now. So they moved it back for some reason. So that's frustrating. Let's see. Music-wise, I've been on kind of a pop-punk kick lately. Been listening to some All Time Low. Machine Gun Kelly's newish. It's not really new. It came out last year, but it's newish. Pop-punk album that he put out. I downloaded Willow Smith's pop-punk album that she literally just put out, I think like a few weeks ago, called Lately I Feel Everything. It's pretty good. I think the best song on there is the song that's already been like the hit single though, which is Transparent Soul with Travis Barker. I also like, John, have you ever had a music artist or even just a song or an album that you don't think about for months at a time, and then when you remember it, you listen to it nonstop for like a week?
Hell yeah.
That's
absolutely.
That's me with Labyrinth's album Imagination and the Misfit Kid. It's so good and so like It's one of those albums too where it's too short. Like it's only like 30 minutes or so. Like it's like, let me look and see if I can find the timestamp for it. It's 38 minutes and 55 seconds. So it's just way too short. And every single song is a bop to some degree. And the thing is, it's got a lot of songs, but it's such a short album that each song doesn't really overstay its welcome. It's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 songs. It's a 15 track album, and the average song length is like 2 minutes, 40 seconds, something like that. It's so short. The songs are so short on average, but the album is way too short, and I just listen to it on loop. It's so good. I love it. What else, music-wise, have I been kind of into lately? Let's see. The Kid Leroy actually just put out a new album that I haven't gotten a chance to listen to yet because I literally only saw that it got put up in the first place while I was at PT today. So that's the thing. I did have a little bit of a Taylor Swift kick earlier this month. Not even older stuff. I mean, her older stuff it can be good depending on how old we're talking. Like, I'm not trying to go all the way back to, we were both young when I first saw you kind of shit. But, yeah, so her Lover album, I actually genuinely just love pretty much beginning to end. I think it's great. And her more recent albums too, like Folklore is one of them. Big fan of that album as well. Let me see if I can find the other names of the other. Oh, Willow is another one. And then The Lakes is the most. Wait, that's actually just a song. It's not an album. Evermore, that's the more recent one. So, and Willow, I think, is actually just a song on Folklore. So yeah, the three last albums that she put out that weren't like her own mixes of her older songs and stuff are Lover, Folklore, and Evermore. And I like to love all of those. I love Lover, and I like the other two. So yeah, your boy digs T Swizzle. Also been weirdly into two former One Direction boys music lately, specifically Harry Styles and Niall Horan. Been pretty into them lately as well. Especially Harry Styles, man. That dude's music is so fucking good. His voice is just awesome.
Yeah.
Again, with the pop punk trend, I've been listening to El Garden, which is a Japanese band led by a dude who speaks very fluent English. A Japanese dude, I should specify, who speaks very fluent English, and they literally make Blink 182 style pop punk music. I fucking love it. So I've been listening to a lot of them. I think that's about the extent of it music-wise, though. I did have like a brief, maybe like 3-day Chainsmokers marathon, but their music gets real old real quick, just because it's all very similar.
Yeah.
Been listening to a lot of football podcasts, trying to prepare for the season and the fantasy season and stuff like that. I've still got quite the backlog, but I've been trying to catch up as best I can. I actually made it to July, which I had a backlog back to April, so I did a pretty good job of actually catching up to the current month. Although, in 24 plus 3, so 27 hours, it's not going to be July, or no, 20, we'll add another 24 to that, so 51 hours. It's not going to be July anymore. It's crazy how fast shit's going. I think, actually, Hall of Fame game, I want to see when it happens. I swear to God, oh my God, dude! August 5th, literally this coming Thursday, is the first season, first preseason game for the NFL. How crazy is that? How much it snuck up on us?
That's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah, that's insane. Let me see what the actual game is. Steelers Cowboys, okay. Man, that's wild. Let's see, what else? I can't really think of anything else. Been watching my favorite streamers. It's so funny. The other day, fucking Revel said something in the movies and television channel about MasterChef. And I was like, wait a minute, because one of my favorite streamers, ex-Choco Bars, I don't know if you're familiar with her, her real name's Janet, has been streaming herself reacting to MasterChef lately, and I was like, wait a minute, have you been watching Janet? And he was very like bashful about it. I didn't want to, prod too hard, but I am like 99% sure he was. But yeah, it's, that's one of the streamers. I know Valkyrae is another one. Saikuno, I fucking love. Basically, that whole circle of friends with like Toast and Corpse and Peter and Hafu and fucking Arya and Wendy. Like, just the whole OTV and Friends crew. I'm a fan of almost everyone in that group. They played a game this month called Pico Park that I would love for us to try on a Monday on one of our game days. It's an up to 8-player game, so we could actually get pretty much anyone that would want to play it in on it, which would be really cool. And it's just like a basic platformer, but you need to work as a team in order to beat it,
Right, yeah.
Like there's one level where you literally have to make a ladder out of the people that are playing the game. Like each of you controls like a little square thing that can jump and move left to right, and that's about it. And the goal is to basically make a ladder up to a key. That's the whole thing. You have to get keys to unlock doors and enter the doors to beat the level. But you have to make a ladder, out of the people that are playing the game, up to a key. But the catch is there is a gap between the platform that you have to be standing on and the platform that you start on. So everyone has to make a successful jump first. And there's a fan blowing against you, blowing you towards the gap, going up and down vertically where this ladder is supposed to be. So everyone is constantly having to fidget and move just a tiny bit to the right to go against the fans pushing air. And like, it's just, the process is insane. I literally watched this group of like Ray, Toast, Lily, Saikuno, like the whole group fail at this level for like 45 minutes. It was unbelievable.
It's good shit, man.
There's also a level in there where you literally just have to not press buttons, and they were on that for 45 minutes too. So,
all right,
it looks like a lot of fun, if not a real pain in the ass to get to actually win. Anyway, other than that, though, yeah, it's been a pretty boring month for me. Again, I'll have more interesting stories to tell about like gaming and stuff when I get my new laptop, which will hopefully be in August. At this point, I'm not entirely convinced that it will be. They say August 13th, but they've said August 3rd already and changed it without notifying me, so I have no fucking clue. They also haven't actually charged my checking account for it, which is also really goddamn weird, especially because, here's another life update, we're in the process of applying for an apartment. We're trying to get an apartment to live in, and it's like a really sweet deal as far as like price to actual how nice the apartment is kind of thing. And the process is just miserable. They just need so much information. And of course, checking account and assets and stuff is one of those things that they need to know. And I manually in my head removed $1,800 from that for the laptop. And it still hasn't been taken out. So they could just like look or call my bank and be like, hey, how much does he have? And the answer will be $1,800 more than I told them I have, because there's a charge coming through that's going to be that much. And they are just not taking it out yet for some reason. I don't know.
All right. Well, I do hope you get hooked up, because I've been so excited for you to get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that was only
rotten. Too is that like I bought a new desk for my laptop when I get it, and it was horrible. I hated it. I've tried the desk. It was miserable. The keyboard table, really just like a sliding thing. I hated it. It was too close to the table that the actual computer was on, and the sliding, I can't do that. And now I know that. I know that I can't have a sliding keyboard table because it sucks. And, well, it specifically sucks for me. I'm not saying it sucks for everyone. It sucks for me because I tend to press hard on my keyboard, and you can't really press hard. Excuse me. You can't really press hard on your keyboard without pushing the actual sliding desk part in. And when I do that, my hands get scraped on the table that the computer's sitting on because, again, we're too close together. So it was miserable, and we sold it for like 2/3 what I paid for it, which obviously, eating that loss is never fun. And now I'm just trying to figure out what configuration I want to get for my new computer when I get it, because the table that my current computer's on is falling apart. So it's a real challenge.
Yeah, I just hope it all works out in the end. That was Rotten Butter's first question, though, right? So what's his next question?
Second question, what are your thoughts on demonizing people that oppose your views? When, if ever, is it acceptable?
Questions like this are always so sticky because, when people use terms like this, I'm not trying to like call Ron Butter out or anything. God knows that I wouldn't want to like perform any irony here in my reaction to this question. Like, what do they mean by demonize? Because I mean, it could be like if you have a politician who's far right. I've seen some people walk up to them and kind of egg them on the back of the head. Other people will maybe just will criticize them on Twitter. There are different degrees of response. Now, I have been very open to the fact that far-right people, I generally just don't like their ideology. And usually because of how immersed they are in their ideology, it's safe to say that I normally don't like them as people. I'm friends with very few conservatives, and even religious conservatives, only because I really do believe that they're good people. And even then, I still kind of want to debate them on some stuff. So, I don't know. I get worried when we have conversations like this because I feel like we're losing perspective. It should be universal that fascists are bad. And I don't like this idea of oh, but you're demonizing, what's that one guy's name? One fucking scientist. Hold on a second. There's a name I want to look up here.
Yeah,
Charles Murray. Charles Murray. That's the guy. The guy that's really been purporting IQ and blacks have lower IQs than whites, when the very IQ idea itself is a very racialized concept for, to aid and abet white supremacy. And they're oh, let him on college campuses speak. I, for one, to do a little bit of philosophy for once in a Q&A, a very dear friend and colleague of mine named Brian Van Norden, he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times when the New York Times is still running a philosophy series called The Stone, which they've ceased, I think, in the last month or so. They've just been we're not continuing the series. But when it was active, Brian said, do the ignorant have a right to an audience? And he introduced this concept that I really liked called just access. Because everybody always wants to make it be about free speech. But as people like myself, and I think you would co-sign on to this, Ashton, because I think you've said some more stuff before, it's not infringing free speech, it's introducing the fact that you have free speech, but that doesn't mean freedom from consequences. So you're free to yell fire in a movie theater, right? But chances are you're going to be kicked out of the movie. Nobody's stopping you from saying that, but there are going to be consequences. Likewise with Van Norden, Brian makes the argument, and again, I would highly recommend you guys search this out and read it. I think it's a well-argued piece. He says that, you could be, say, a young earth creationist. Brian says, you have every right to have that belief. But he doesn't think, and when he talks about just access, what he means by the concept is, should you be platformed by certain mediums and institutions? He doesn't feel like a young earth creationist has any position having a job at an institution dedicated to evolutionary biology. Right? Because it's just completely antithetical ideologically. So he says you have the freedom to be a young earth creationist, but you don't have the freedom to be platformed by an institution that you would have the interest of co-opting that's antithetical to your views. The same way that news, and this is where Brian's big argument comes in with just access, when you think about news media, and there is an ethical crux to the news, you're supposed to give true information because we know the masses. You can't know everything about everything at any given time, right? We've all got our own lives to live, so we trust the media to fill us in honestly about the things we should fucking know about. But obviously that's not the case. We see a lot of media that's very partisan. MSNBC is very liberal centrist. Fox is very rightist, stuff like that. And he says, people like Tucker Carlson should not be platformed because they say things that are outright just wrong, just fucking wrong. And I think they've even been deposed before. I just saw someone
earlier today basically asking the question, if a teenage girl can be held accountable for encouraging her boyfriend to kill himself, why can Tucker Carlson not be held accountable for encouraging people not to get vaccinated against a deadly virus?
Exactly. You're willfully pushing misinformation for a broader ideological narrative. And Brian argues that that violates his idea of just access. You should not have access to a news platform if the idea of news, which unfortunately that isn't the idea of news, but that's not on Brian, that's on the structure he's operating in, that we're all operating in. The idea of news was never the propagation of true information. It's become ideology. It's become propaganda. So Tucker Carlson's actually a feature, not a bug. That's the fucking problem. But ideally, when we speak of media, he should not have access. He's free to believe whatever he wants to believe. And hell, on the internet, just start your own damn blog or something, right? But it shouldn't be, you shouldn't be required, or you shouldn't be like, oh, this news network has to platform me. No, the fuck they don't. Not if you're purporting false views and you're propagating false information. So I think he makes this fine distinction between free speech and just access that I've really liked ever since I read it. And that's kind of my guiding thing. So you talk about demonization. I don't think it's demonization if I host a network that I'm not platforming a guy that's like, well, I'm this Christian and I feel like we need to sacrifice the gay people to appease God because he's angry that we've let same-sex marriage and all this stuff go unchecked. I'm not platforming that motherfucker. That doesn't mean that I'm like tormenting him that he can't have his speech. And even if you are quote-unquote tormented on Twitter, that still doesn't even stop you from having your speech because you can go to fucking Parler. You can deactivate Twitter, go to Parler, and have all this fucking speech you want there.
Wait, is Parler still a thing? I thought that it got taken down.
I think Parler is still a thing. Last I checked, I didn't hear anything about it ceasing operations.
I know that iOS removed it from its app store.
But even then, Shad, like, I think you're trying to be really particular. And again, we're saying freedom from consequences. Even in jail, I mean, sure, you may get your ass beat by a certain gang or a certain group of people or whatever. But even then, like, unless somebody rips your vocal cords out, and even then, that's kind of an ableist idea because communication and speech goes far beyond verbal language. Like, your speech isn't something, unless they fettered you literally to the fucking ground and taped your mouth and all that stuff, and you couldn't speak at all.
Yeah, like
at all.
That is a consequence, but they are not physically preventing you from doing it.
Exactly. Like, I need people to really learn this distinction because, and again, nothing against rotten butter, I don't like what these questions seem to suggest, that, like, almost all views are equal, when they're very clearly not.
Dude,
I don't like that.
I've been trying to fucking drill that. And I'm not even going to use a name here. I've been trying to fucking drill that into somebody's head in our Discord. That just because two opposing views see each other as wrong doesn't mean that they are equal and that one of them can't be right and the other one can't actually be wrong.
Yes, exactly. I mean, look, if I could just say, Ashton, very quickly, and I think it's actually the most appropriate for me to say this in this Q&A, given a prior question that we had. As a disabled person that has seen, like, just historically as a concept, the concept of disabled person, a lot of us were killed in the Holocaust when they thought, oh, disabled people are feeble, they're a drain on the state. And even in the the U.S. took a lot from the Nazis. Look at the Supreme Court decision, Buck versus Bell, which legalized the sterilization of over, like, 20,000 disabled people. That's because they had an opinion, right? Their speech was, I'm a lesser human being. I don't need to talk, I'm sure Foster's still in the chat, I don't need to talk about, you know, racism and white supremacy and how black people are treated because of opinions about the black race that have extended for fucking centuries that are just fucking wrong. And so, no, not all opinions are fucking equal. And we live in a culture where I think it treats it as such. And it's like, listen, man, I just want to show my Nazi tattoo. Goddamn cancel culture. What the hell's the problem? Maybe it's the problem that you're a fucking Nazi. I'm not trying to humanize fucking Nazis. Fuck that shit. So no, like, not all views are fucking equal. And I think I even saw a great post once that was like, things that we can disagree about, you know, where should taxes go? What should be done about infrastructure, this and that. Things we can't disagree about. Blacks being people, trans being people, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there are things, absolutely, we can debate till the cows come home. Things, I guess, related to fiscal policy, stuff like that. But when it comes to the very humanity of whole groups of people, that's not a debate. That's not an opinion that you can have conversely. Well, I just think this group is subhuman. No, like, that's not something you entertain. And I think what bothers me about questions like this, again, is it almost makes it seem like those positions are equal when they're very clearly not. And a demonization is just more that they're not the only voice in the room anymore. And I think it still makes those people uncomfortable because it's like, oh, well, we used to own everything. Well, now you don't. Or at least now you don't without some pushback, at least. So that's how I feel about that. I'm sorry. I kind of got fired up there. Is there anything you want to add?
I just kind of go back to the phrase, a tolerant society should not tolerate the intolerant.
Yeah.
Like, I think, opposing views can either be somebody that thinks Tomohiro Ishii sucks, which is one thing, and obviously I wouldn't be happy about that, and I'd want to argue with them on it tooth and nail, but I wouldn't want to stop talking with them because of it. Or, fucking war with Iran would be a good thing. Like, no, fuck that, fuck you, you're wrong, objectively, fuck off.
And, like, just one more thing I want to say. I don't like that this defense is always just for literally the worst people, like your Charles Murrays, like your Ben Shapiro's. If you want to talk about defending free speech, because I actually learned about this dude the other day, and I'm ashamed that I only learned about this yesterday, when apparently this has been going on for a while. There was a guy that was a whistleblower, and we've had quite a few whistleblowers. Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, Julian Assange, who's still going through a lot of stuff. This most recent one that I learned about, the guy's name is Daniel Hale. He used to operate fucking drones, because they used to brag about the drone program. Oh, we can hit a mosquito from like all these miles away. And I think I've even told you, Ashton, that I've read studies that drones have a very low accuracy. Like, there's a very high percentage of casualties and, like, quote-unquote misfires and stuff like that. And this guy named Daniel Hale blew the whistle on that. He said, guys, this drone program is an atrocity. It's monstrous. It kills people. It kills people, and it really is a threat. He just recently got sentenced to 45 months in prison. Now, granted, I think relative to other sentences we've seen, again, Julian Assange still going through it, Chelsea Manning, I think she was out the last time I heard, but I think they always still try and get her on shit. It's actually pretty lenient, but that's still fucked up that I could call 4 years in prison fucking lenient for being a whistleblower about a fucking war crime or potential war crimes with a drone program. And he even said in his statement, because when he was operating the drones, he actually got a medal. Like, he was recognized by the military. And then when he calls it out, now he's this traitor to America. You know how the fucking campaigns go.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And he even said to a judge, what was the quote? Again, I don't want to waste time trying to think of it. But he apologized, not for what he did, like as far as being a whistleblower. He apologized for the lives he took while he was manning the drone. So he doubled down. Like, even being sentenced, he's like, all I have to apologize for is that I took human life. What about that? Like, we always take up for, let Charles Murray speak on this campus, or why are we silencing PragerU? I think PragerU should be in classrooms. What about this fucking dude that legitimately helped national security, or at least help us know and have more transparency with this concept of national security? And hey, maybe America isn't so great, and hey, maybe the UN should hold the fucking America accountable for its war crimes. But no, I had to learn from a fucking independent media outlet. It was a fucking Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske, because I don't even think the mainstream media's talked about this. Because they will talk about the college campuses and the gendered bathrooms and the fucking culture war bullshit. And, like, it's not bullshit in one way, because obviously the representation and the safeties of these groups obviously matter. But, like, it shouldn't even be an issue, right? Their humanity should just automatically be recognized. And what we should be focusing on...
that's the key, though, is that you keep saying should, because at the end of the day, we're still fighting for that.
Right.
There's still a huge fight, constant arguments, debates, literal legal battles going on over whether these people deserve their fucking rights or not. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. And because of those fights that are ridiculous, sure, 1,000% right, people like this, like Daniel Hale, will go to jail quietly because the quote-unquote culture wars, and I really honestly even hate that term, because it's not a fucking culture war. It's groups of people trying to be treated with, like, basic human fucking decency. To act like it's an attack on an entire culture, which I feel like that's become a very nebulous concept over the years, is absurd to me. I'm just going to say that, too. But then things like this happen quietly that I have to find out from, like, third-party media. And, dude, there are, like, fucking genocides and war crimes in other countries that, like, we don't know about legitimately, at least from mainstream media, because they're U.S. allies.
Yep.
But, Cuba, which, again, none of the mainstream media talks about the U.S. embargo, that's going to be another thing. So when we're talking about speech, and we're making this whole deal about speech, maybe we should focus on where the speech is being circumvented that would actually affect us materially on a pretty considerable scale, and focus on that, because I really don't give a shit if some fucking racist who wants to be like, oh, but IQs prove that blacks are inferior. I don't give a fuck about that. I give a fuck about the speech of people that are like, hey, you know this program that the military is doing? Yeah, it's been killing innocent people, including children. Maybe we should do something like that. Oh, wait, what? Why am I being handcuffed? Oh, 4 years in prison, what the fuck? Like, let's protect our whistleblowers if we want to protect speech so goddamn bad. So, Just what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to the actual original question, what are your thoughts on demonizing people that oppose your views? Again, it really, truly depends on what we're talking about here, because a view, like an opinion of like whether you like or dislike a piece of media or art, we can oppose that all we want. An opinion that you have that allows you to mentally dehumanize an entire group of people, I don't really see that as an opinion that's disagreeable. I really see that as you just actively hating a group of people because you just fucking want to and you justify it in your brain. Like, that's not something that's I would consider acceptable. Like, and if the weird thing too is that he says thoughts on demonizing people that oppose your views. I mean, look, I'm not the violent type. I'm not going to be the type of person to actively like go chase after someone with a baseball bat or even do like the egging thing or the milkshake throwing stuff. But if I find out that somebody has a view that is hateful in nature, I basically mentally cut that person off completely, for the most part. I mean, I might still be open to saying words to them and hearing them say words to me, but I will not ever consider them somebody that I can have any really emotional attachment to. I basically see them as a fucking NPC at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Final question from Rotten Butter. How can you say you love her if you can't even eat her poop?
You know what? You're right. I'm breaking up with her right now. I don't even know where that's from.
Is that like, I think that's like an anime line that got like really poorly translated or something. I don't even.
God, that would not surprise me at all. Brother, quick check-in. How many more questions do we have? Because it's starting to storm over here. Oh, awesome. Okay, let's do this then, because it's really starting to storm over here, and I don't want us to get cut off.
First up for you, John, you have been asked to be a host on Jeopardy! What categories do you want covered on the show?
Okay, how many categories are usually in Jeopardy? Does anybody watch the show that can tell me?
He specifically said it doesn't really matter what number you pick. Just pick the ones you want.
Okay, I'm going to do 5, because I like that number.
Yeah,
3 ain't enough.
Said doesn't need to be a specific number.
Philosophy, obviously. Geopolitics. Name that president. AEI, and because I've watched enough Jeopardy, the words OU would be in parentheses, so maybe it would be questions about debt or whatever. And the 5th category, let's do 80s music. I don't even like that decade, but I know they always like to do some like cultural stuff. So yeah, there you go, 5 categories.
So you're really not going to have a wrestling column? Damn.
Nah.
Nice. All right. Next question is just for me. If you were the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, how would you prove to the team that you belong? This is really difficult for me because while I'm really good at fake it till you make it in social situations, I've never really had to prove myself to anyone before. And like the people who I've wanted to prove myself to, it wasn't because I needed to. It was because I just wanted them to be my friends, and I did that through like buying them shit. And like that was like literally college. The first day I went into class, had a couple of classes, met a couple people that I liked and wanted to be friends with, invited them over to my house, said I'd buy pizza, and they were like, they're college students, so of course they said yes. So we just like that was like immediately that's how we became friends. Like that was. So I don't really know how do you win people over, John? You tell me. How do you
honestly
that you belong where in like so that it's like for example, like if you were to go to like one of those big philosopher conferences and you feel like you're just totally in over your head and all of these like top flight like philosophers that are like YouTube and Twitter famous, that you feel like you're like a guppy in a pond full of sharks or an ocean full of sharks. How do you prove that you belong?
God, God.
Yeah, like
I want to.
The easiest answer is by winning. Because like in this instance, if I just coach the team to wins, obviously it'll prove that I belong. But I think that the idea is more, how do you prove to the team that you belong before the actual season starts, so that you can get them to really rally behind you as their coach, so that you can win that first game in the first place. You know what I mean?
I think I am in kind of a unique position to help you out here, if for no other reason. Like, I've been to at least one conference physically, and I've presented elsewhere, but like the one conference I went to in Colorado was a huge moment for me because I've always been an autodidact. Like, I have no university affiliate at all. And so when you go there, you're kind of like an anomaly, and like you're kind of like a novelty. I think that's why people kind of took an interest in me, because it's like, oh wow, that's so weird. But for me, I think if you're an outsider and you have to prove yourself from the outside, because I agree with your assessment. When you're inside, winning's the answer. When you're outside, to me, and I know this is going to sound cliche and maybe even basic, I really do think it's just about actively listening and building rapport. Like you pull the guy aside and you're like, hey,
right.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I'm like, okay, I think sort of the easiest way to do it is like buy them dinner, but also like I would like, for a long-term solution, literally just be a good coach, which I would imagine involves like listening to their problems and genuinely trying to solve them, rather than just letting it go in one ear and out the other,
Yeah, I would want to. Here's what I would do, and like, I don't know football for shit, but so maybe it would be like a philosophy thing. I don't know proper how to like map that on though. I'd be like, okay, what do you think the strongest and the weakest part of your game is? And like, if they told me the strongest, great. The weakest, of course, I would take more interest in. I'd be like, okay, let's take time, like 30 minutes together to watch some of your tape, and just see maybe how we can correct that deficiency or what we can do about it, and maybe even point out other things that you've never thought about. Like, I think when you show one through active listening, and again, like an actively participatory rapport, where like, you are asking, you are answering and stuff like that, and you just put yourself out there, that's kind of proving yourself, because they're like, okay, they're not just here to make us, run some drills, do some fucking burpees and collect a check. They really want to improve our game. And I think it's just really immersing yourself in the team the moment you get there. And like, okay, who wants to watch tape with me? Who wants to talk strategy with me, and just and field positioning and all that stuff? And you just do the work. And then, of course, you win on the field. And absolutely, I agree with that 100%. So,
I think another like alternative route to go would be like almost like hiring a surrogate, like rather than me as the head coach actually like interacting with the team. I would almost want to like bring in like a really well-respected older veteran player, or maybe even another retired coach, to just kind of like fire the team up and talk to the team and stuff, and then report back to me, kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually like that.
Yeah, that was the only other idea I had. Third question from Foster: besides Roman, what other wrestlers would you like to personally talk to you through the TV during a promo?
I want John Morrison to talk to me through the TV. Like, hey, John, how you doing? Love that mark out. Hope to give you many more memories. I'd be like, oh, of course. And, Kyrie speaking Japanese to us and maybe teaching us Japanese through the television would have been so heartwarming. It would have even gotten her own, like, network show or whatever. So, yeah, Kyrie when she was around, Morrison. Let's see, who else talking to me through the TV? Big E, definitely. Because Big E's got that energy. That'd be amazing. So, yeah, I think I'll limit myself to those three. What about you? Who are some people you'd like to talk to through the TV?
Sami Zayn.
Excellent.
Daniel Bryan.
Love it. Yes.
Asuka Loki.
For sure.
And you know what? Just because she comes off as a total sweetheart, and like, I feel like she did really nice things to me. Naomi.
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
She's so nice. I love her. Fourth question from Foster. Since Regal didn't read any of the fine print in those contracts, what legal loopholes and little benefits that could Samoa Joe have tossed in there for funsies?
His right to abuse anyone in the NXT parking lot without repercussions. Definitely. Like, amazing.
I was wondering if it was more like something in that contract. I mean, obviously the thing is, in order for the actual match to happen at TakeOver 36, Cross has to sign the contract too. So we can't really say anything about the match until Cross signs the contract. But yeah, as far as Joe's contract with NXT, I mean, I feel like, first of all, a really, really strong. God, what are those things called? What's it called when a company is forced to let you go, but they give you like a really nice big compensation check for it? I forget what that's called.
Severance package?
Yes, a really, really nice severance package. Joe would get the best severance package. Thank you. And the second one, the one where it puts him back on the active roster, obviously a really high salary, really low number of dates that he has to work. Something in there about how if he wins the NXT Championship, he only has to defend it every 90 days instead of every 30 days.
Ooh. Get him on a similar Brock deal. That's nice.
Yeah. Just little stuff, like maybe like a special thing in there where it's like it allows him to work other promotions, like allows him to work New Japan or allows him to work Ring of Honor if he wants to go back there or whatever, like that kind of thing. Allows him to work PWG when they come back. That'd be cool.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. So let's move on to our final question. What is a show that you think will hold up better with a rewatch?
I feel like I felt...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I could already say this about some shows because I felt that way about Jessica Jones Season 2. I liked it more upon a rewatch. So that immediately comes to my mind. What were you going to say, though?
Punisher was a strong one out of that group, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I will say, I think my first experience, at least watching Punisher Season 2, might have actually been better than my second experience watching it. So maybe that doesn't even hold up. But what I was going to say, easy peasy, Mr. Robot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's one of those shows where as you're watching it, you know it's really fucking good. But then you look back on it and you're like, what the fuck? I witnessed an actual artistic masterpiece that aired on the same network as WWE Raw. What the fuck?
Yeah. USA Network really be like that sometimes.
It's weird, man. Because, like, here's the thing that I feel like we never talk about, or at least I never hear anyone else talk about. I try and spout this as much as I can when it comes up. It's not just that Mr. Robot was beautifully written and an absolutely beautifully executed study of mental illness and coping mechanisms and all that kind of stuff in general. It is legitimately one of the best shot and like cinematography executed TV shows I think I've ever seen in my life.
Bro, the way they use tracking shots, especially for like really tense moments,
just the visual symbolism is incredible. Like, even just something as simple as like the framing of one person being smaller than another person when the person that's being portrayed as bigger in this scene is speaking from a place of power, but then the person that was portrayed as smaller in the scene reveals something that reveals that actually they have had the power all the time, and while that's happening, the camera's shifting just a little bit so that it shows them growing and the other person shrinking. Like, the cinematography in Mr. Robot is once in a lifetime level incredible. Like, you can go back. We've heard of the YouTube channel Every Frame a Painting. That's literally true for Mr. Robot. I've never seen another show where that was a literal thing for Mr. Robot. You can pick out any frame at any point in that show, put it in a frame, and put it on the fucking wall, and people would be like, oh, wow, that's a really beautiful piece of art. Because that's just how well it was shot. It's unbelievable. Even, like, the colors in the background, like, everything just was so surgically, meticulously thought out ahead of time. It is unbelievable. And I cannot wait to go back and rewatch it from the beginning because, again, like just looking back on it with hindsight, it was a fucking masterpiece.
Beautifully said. Yeah,
And that's our last
nothing to add to
question
that.
for Q&A too.
All right, guys, I am just about to tweet the pinned tweet for Q&A number 61 on August 26th.
This
that
was
is the last
61,
Thursday.
The next one's 62.
Oh, I thought this one was number 60. This wasn't Q&A number 60? Oh, wow,
61.
I must have missed. Wow, I must have missed. I misnumbered it on my original pinned tweet then, so my mistake, guys. So, all right. Yeah, all right. Q&A, the next Q&A, either way, August 26th. That's the last Thursday for next month. So I'm about to tweet that now and tweet it. So I'm going to pin this, and then you guys can just go and give your questions there. I say it time and time again. Non-Patreon donors get only up to 3 Q&A questions, but if you donate $1, you get 2 additional questions for a total of 5. I would, however, just donate $3 because you get the additional Q&A questions and access to the TWitWoW Discord. It's a great Discord. We have channels for practically everything, including submitting Q&A questions. So I think my pinned tweet and the Q&A Discord channel are the easiest ways to submit your questions. You can also submit them through YouTube and Facebook, but again, Twitter and Discord seem to be the easiest. And yeah, we will see you for this on August 26th. But as far as general YouTube content for TWitWoW, tomorrow is going to be a big day. We're hoping to be doing the Stardom July 24th show at 3, the 25th show at 5. Our biggest commentary of the day, in my mind, our preview and predictions for the 5-Star Grand Prix at 7 p.m. And then we will be reviewing SmackDown at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. If the 7/24 show does not go up, we will be doing, or at least tomorrow, I mean, and it's up by Saturday, which I would hope it would be. We would do it Saturday. I think we usually do Stardoms at like 7 on Saturdays, right? So does that sound right for you? 7/24 at 7 on Saturday?
7, if it's not up by tomorrow, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, if it's not up by tomorrow, 7 p.m. Saturday would be our new day for that. And then the 7/25th show would be on Sunday. I think you and I, have we agreed on a time for Sunday? What time would you like to do? Because you know me, I'm literally just like pick one. So I'll leave that to you, whatever you do. 5? Okay, so then 5 on Sunday for the 7/25 show. Again, and that's if it doesn't go all right, which I'm hoping it does, because I'd rather just do 4 recordings Friday and have the whole weekend open, but we'll see what happens. So again, guys, hopefully, ideally, you'll see us at 3 tomorrow for a Stardom coverage 7/24 show, then 5 for the 7/25th show, 7 for the 5-Star Grand Prix preview predictions, 10 for SmackDown review. If not, 24 and 25 will be spread out over the weekend, 7 p.m. Saturday and 5 p.m. Sunday, respectively. And again, for Q&A, if you're only here for that purpose, which would be kind of weird, but you do you, we will see you again August 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Get your questions in. Again, the new pin tweet is up. I look forward to seeing what you ask for next month. With that said, guys, be sure to like the video as you file out, subscribe, click the bell icon so you never get miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. And I'm going to hand it over to Ashton to take us home.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know, I saw you had Q&A number 56 listed for both January and February. That's why I was one behind.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I've just been a bit off my game, but I think we should be good now. And, yeah, take us home.
All right, let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you definitely enjoyed the Q&A. It went a lot longer than the last few have been. It's actually kind of back to the usual time that it usually used to be before we started getting fewer questions. And we got fewer questions this time around anyway, so I guess we just kind of lingered on a few of them. But we hope that you enjoyed regardless. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, follow us on Twitter and Twitch. If you'd like to support us, you can also subscribe on Twitch, buy our merch on Spring, donate to our Patreon, and share this channel and this video with all your wrestling fan friends. And let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube and Twitch wrestling communities. That's right, we are TWitWoW, and we are the workhorses of the YNTW season. We will be seeing you all tomorrow, no matter what, because we are going to be either live reacting to 2 Stardom shows and previewing predicting it, and then reviewing SmackDown, or we're just going to be previewing predicting Stardom's 5-Star Grand Prix at 6, and then reviewing SmackDown. If we do end up doing Stardom tomorrow reactions, like John already mentioned, we will do the July 24th show at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, the July 25th show at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and then our preview and predictions for the 5-Star Grand Prix at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. No matter what, out of those though, we will be doing our SmackDown review at 10 p.m. Eastern time, regardless. And if the Stardom show, the 24th show, does not go up by tomorrow, then we will not cover any Stardom shows. We won't live react to any of them, but we will go live at 6, so an hour earlier than otherwise, with our preview and predictions to the 5-Star Grand Prix, because that starts literally like 12, not even, maybe like 7 or 8 hours after, you know, the actual preview predictions would be. And we want to get our preview predictions locked in before the actual tournament starts. So want to make sure to do that. If that does happen, like John said, we'll be live reacting to the July 24th Stardom show Saturday at 7 and the July 25th Stardom show Sunday at 5. Again, that's only if the July 24th show isn't up by tomorrow. Otherwise, if it is, we'll be doing 3, 5, 7, 10. We hope that you're looking forward to that, because that's a crazy day tomorrow. And other than that, all I know about is that we're going to be trying to cover Stardom as soon as they get their shows up, because there is a 5-Star Grand Prix show on each of the 2 weekend days this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So once those go up in full, we'll live react to them next week. And of course, we've also got an NXT review and a Friday Night SmackDown review to do next week as well. So we hope you're looking forward to all that fun stuff. And most importantly, we hope that you're all able to remember to stay tuned.